same source, a powerful love force.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Love Coach Scott Catamas, and it is Saturday night, and it's the awakening world. I'm so used to saying Saturday Night Live for the Global Peace Tribe, and it is Saturday night, and we are alive, and you are the Global Peace Tribe. And now it's all about the awakening world. And I'm so grateful that we've made that shift to that title, and I'm getting really wonderful responses from people about it. Because that's what's happening. Our world is waking up. And I want to welcome all of you that are with us. Really nice to always see our regular friends. John, thank you, from Norfolk, Virginia. And definitely want to invite everybody to let us know your name, where you're from. Right off the bat, I see a lot of our regulars. Oshalla, Marlene, Jeff, and of course the wonderful Debbie Johnston, who helps make everything happen in wonderful ways. Thank you, Debbie. Here, I'll put the spotlight on Debbie and we can all give her a little love. There she is. There's my right hand these days. Thank you so much, Debbie. So it's Martin Luther King weekend. And many of you were with us last night. We had a really beautiful Friday night show. And again, what we're doing now is taking a topic and exploring it throughout the weekend. And it's a really new approach, and I'm loving doing that. And last night we had a very dynamic series of conversations with Antoinette, who's going to be back with us tonight, and Pato, and my dear friend Oshalla, and so on and so forth. And so we want to hear from you. And there she is. I see that Antoinette is with us. So I'm going to put her on. There. Hello, Antoinette.
Hi, Scott.
I really enjoyed, by the way, watching you and Pato and what you put on earlier today with the album that you've put together. And tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, awesome. So this album it's a compilation of 34 songs from different artists from around the world, a variety of different styles, every genre you can think of, from singing to rapping to instrumentals, and just honoring Dr. Martin Luther King, something that either in the words or the lyrics that had inspired them, with the song, or it's about it in the song or something. Pato would explain it better because he was the one who wrote up this was his idea, his baby, but it's really amazing because I took a listen to it the other night. He's the one who's been working day and night on this, as well as taking care of me on top of everything else. And it's just amazing how eclectic and how diverse, that this album is of everything that it's expressive of. I have a dream that Martin Luther King was talking about is being sung about from these aspects and viewpoints from the different people.
Wow, beautiful. Dr. Brenda, take a look at the chat box because I sent you a message and I'll bring you on in a moment.
Great.
And how do people get the CD? How do they order it?
Well, so on Monday, on Dr. Martin Luther King, the official holiday, we'll be at the World Beat Center in San Diego doing the Martin Luther King Day at the World Beat Center in San Diego. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to pre-record it and then have it available for everybody to see later. But that date will have the link available for purchase of the CD. And the way that we have set up the CD, all the artists being featured on the album, they are able to receive the proceeds from the CD on their own sites, wherever they sell the royalties or publishing anything that we put onto Spotify. They'll be able to retain their rights. We'll make sure everybody's independent because it's always good to take care of the artist. And then how they have it on the compilation CD, the proceeds goes towards our organization, Stand Up for Justice. So it's a win-win. This is like the beginning of a very long partnership between artists and musicians, social justice, getting the message out there, like putting out their quality music, putting out there that's something that has substance, music with a message. How do we put it into action?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And we definitely want to continue to promote it. And, I should also promote Stand Up for Justice. And of course, we're going to promote your GoFundMe a little bit later tonight. So I love that you're with us. Thank you so much. Are you familiar with Sharif Abdullah? Do you know Sharif? There he is. Hey, Pato.
Hey, my brother.
We were just talking about this wonderful CD compilation that you've put together with your friends.
Oh, nice.
And, oh yeah, and I really enjoyed listening to some of the tunes this afternoon. It was beautiful. So thank you so much.
Much love, Scott.
And we're going to hear more from Pato and Antoinette throughout the evening, including learning all about their new courses that they're offering. We're also going to play the beautiful video that Pato created about our beloved Martin Luther King. So thank you for being with us. I'm going to share with our audience a little bit. We didn't get last night to Sharif Abdullah. He had pre-recorded with me, and our conversation last night was so dynamic that usually the show goes like 75 minutes. We were 2 hours in and still just dynamic conversation with Antoinette, Pato, Oshalla, and you, our audience. And I see a lot of you were with us, Eleanor, Dia, Bonnie, Percy. So thank you for being with us. I do want to introduce you to Sharif Abdullah. He's one of my favorite presenters. He's been on several of my shows over the past year. He runs the Common Way Institute, and he's a world traveler. He travels all over the world. That's why he's not with us right now, because he's in South America and doesn't have access to quality internet. So we pre-recorded some of what he had to say. And so we're going to take a look at that video. And then afterwards, I'd love to hear, I'm going to bring on Dr. Brenda. I'll bring back Antoinette if she's around. I'd love to hear what you both have to say after you hear what Sharif shares with us. So hang on now. I'm using a new system, and for some reason, it's having a little trouble finding the video. So let's try this again, shall we? We're on the new advanced video system, which, this is so strange. How come it's not bringing it up? Well, while I do that, while I fiddle with that for a moment, I'm going to bring on Dr. Brenda Wade. And Dr. Brenda is, I'm very fortunate, is going to be my co-host tonight. Welcome, Dr. Brenda.
Oh, welcome to everyone, and so lovely to be with you, Scott, and again with Antoinette and Pato. I got to hear them on another show, and it's just a joy and honor and a privilege to be with you and to hold the space. You know, the things that you do are so much about awakening. Hello, Antoinette and Pato. How are you? Such a pleasure. And all the other presenters, it's just a joy. And Scott, thank you for holding the space for awakening for all of us, and especially on this historic weekend that we're honoring the life, the dream, the message, and the high intention of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I want to say Reverend Doctor, because the reverence that he's due, because he gave the ultimate sacrifice. He was willing to give his life that we might all live a dream where every human being can live with dignity, live in a world where they're safe, where they're free. And we haven't achieved the dream by a long shot, but it is so important to hold that there is infinite possibility. My father used to have this saying, Scott. He would say, as long as there's breath in my body, he said, there is still room to grow and hope.
Beautiful. Well, it's an honor to have you with us, along with Pato and Antoinette, and we're going to have a couple of other really, and I limited the presenters tonight because I really wanted us to have more dialogue and conversation. So along those lines, I want to introduce you all to Sharif Abdullah, and here's the very first, this is a 5-minute little segment with him, and then we'll come back and talk about what he has to say. Go.
So this is what we call the Martin Luther King weekend, or the Martin Luther King holiday. And I think it's a great time for us to think about and talk about what is the legacy of Dr. King, and what is that relevance? What is his relevance to us today? For many of us, it's not a whole lot. And there are King celebrations going on. People are singing a whole bunch of spirituals, and I'm not into those. People are doing a whole lot of praying in Baptist churches, and I do some. I pray in all places, including churches. But really, what was King all about? Is he something from our past, or is he someone that can be relevant to us today? I think that it's interesting that King was trying to find his way even while he was alive. The high watermark for him was the 1964 Civil Rights Act and getting that passed, and his very famous "I Have a Dream" speech. But after that, he had trouble coming to grips with the totality of the experience happening in America. This is the time that his consciousness began to expand beyond the issues of African Americans in our society, expand beyond the issues of economics or voting rights, and starting to look at the nature of our society as a whole. This is when he started getting involved in economic struggles. This is when he started getting involved in the Vietnam War. And this is when he started becoming very, very unpopular to the status quo of our society. This is the thing that I believe got him killed. That this notion of we have to reform America, not just for Black people. We have to reform America for all people. That there's something in our creed that gets us looking at our vision of how high our society could be. But then there's something in our actions that look at that where we are going in the opposite direction, away from community, away from connection, away from how we can live together as human beings. So I think that this legacy, the direction he was pointing at the problems with our economics, the problems with our politics, the problems with our society, is a whole lot more relevant than rebroadcasting for the umpteenth time the "I Have a Dream" speech and singing a lot of spirituals about that go all the way back to the times of slavery in America. So if King is going to be relevant, I think that we need to look at him not just in terms of his civil rights accomplishments, which are many. When we look at the presidency of Barack Obama, that presidency could not have existed in this society if it weren't for King. But we obviously have to look beyond that, because electing a Black president doesn't change very much. We have to understand what it is that needs to be changed and see how that thing needs to be changed. So our legacy is, the legacy of King is part of our history. But for me, that legacy is moving forward. King is a living force in how I do my work. King is relevant not just in terms of what has happened in our past, but is what is going to happen in our future. And our challenge is, are we going to allow that to happen, or are we going to miss our opportunity and literally face catastrophe? I think the choice is up to us right now, and I think that's a choice that we all have to take and all have to deal with and live with right now.
Go. So,
Wow.
yeah, and first off, I want to say I have nothing against prayer, including evangelical. And I think singing is still wonderful. I think we can never do enough singing. So, even though he started off a little bit on the cynical side with that, where he does take it, I think is important. And I'd love to hear both Dr. Brenda and Antoinette what your honest reactions were to what you just heard.
I agree that he started out sounding a little bit cynical, but I understand that. I think that sometimes when we look at the intersection of spirituality and politics, we only see Dr. King in that space, but he was such a huge figure. And, his legacy is extensive because he started through Dr. Howard Thurman, his mentor, who had met with Mahatma Gandhi in India. And Gandhi said, hey, would you sing a spiritual for me? So spirituals are such an identification, I find, for myself personally. I can't speak for all African Americans, but I love spirituals because they are the sound of Africa. When I was in Africa, I was stunned to hear the resonance that I hear in spirituals. These are songs that came across the ocean. I believe they kept the African people alive. They kept the heart and soul of people who were in the most heinous situations. Scott, it all came home to me. I was on an assignment for Essence Magazine when I was in Africa with my two daughters who were very young. And we went to the doorway of no return at Goree Island, the so-called slave castle. And it was at that moment that I understood for the first time what it meant, because there were 5 doorways, one for boys, one for girls, one for men, one for women, and the infamous doorway of no return, where if you were injured or sick, you're just pushed out into the ocean. And I understood. So when I hear a spiritual, I hear those people who went through those doorways holding themselves together by moaning those songs, that's how the spirituals sound. And it's a sound of mourning. It's a sound of grief, and it's a sound of courage to endure what must be endured.
Wow, thank you. That's a powerful reflection. And Pato, Antoinette, I'd love to hear your response to what Brenda just shared or what Sharif said a little bit earlier.
Wow, what you just said, it just kind of gave me bumps when you said there at the end, because I've been to Goree Island and I know that sound that you're talking about. I heard that sound and it was crazy because when we're all standing there, and it was my first time going to Africa for that experience, and we were all standing there giving libation to our ancestors, and then understanding what those different doors in those rooms were for. For the angry black man was in this little tiny little box, and then people just started hearing things. And I was sitting there wondering if I was going to be captured by some kind of spirit, because there's just a lot of emotion,
Yes,
and a lot of things kind of going on, and we're all holding hands. And then these French tourists start banging on the door because they want to come in, whatever, something, it's about their time. And we're all sitting there, you just wait a damn minute.
right.
We're like, we're just in our moment, whatever, at that time. And everything.
Yeah,
It was just like, I was just feeling it. If you were there, it didn't matter what color you were, because we were a mixed group anyway. Everybody had some type of reaction or feeling of stepping on that ground and seeing it, and then bringing it back to whatever.
Right.
It changes you forever. So I did have mixed feelings about spiritual songs. I would either cringe, or I didn't like them in church, or different things. And then I just kind of gained like a weird new appreciation for it now. Pato?
Yeah, I liked everything he said. I like most of what he said. For me personally, I think I want it all. I want the past, I want the present, and I want the future. You know, I want the elder generation to express themselves in their way. And I want to give them that space, and I want to appreciate what they have to offer. I want to give this generation their credit for what they're doing right now and the freedom to express themselves in the best way they can. And when I say this generation, I don't just mean Black people, I mean every race that is involved, every people that is involved in the struggle for equality and for human dignity, you know? And the younger generation have a different way of expressing themselves. They are the future. And sometimes their way of expression is way over my head, you know, and I'm in touch with the younger generation a lot, but they have their own way of singing their song, of rapping their rap, of chanting their chant, you know, and that is the future that we have to embrace, how they feel about life right now. And their experience is very different from my experience. You know, we've set a lot of precedences and new ground so that they, you know, I made sure that my kids didn't suffer what I suffered. You know, I don't normally talk about this, but I really want to talk about this right now. All right. I grew up in England where it was a very racist community. I was first generation Black man born in England, okay? When they invited us from the Caribbean to come and get, you know, jobs that they couldn't fill all of these jobs. And they promised my parents that they would have beautiful homes, that there was gold in the roads, that everything was beautiful. And when my parents got to England, the Indian community had already got there before us, so they became our landlords. So their experience was one of struggle and trying to identify themselves in a white country as Black people who were not welcomed there by the average English person. They were welcomed there by the rich people and by the employers and by the government. But the average English person resented the fact that there was all these dark-skinned people coming there. And that's what I grew up in. Now, I was chased, I got beaten, I got kidnapped by the police, I got sent to jail after they beat me and tortured me and forced me to sign up to charges that I had no idea who did these things, but a jury of their peers sent me to jail for 2 years for crimes I never committed. So I watched my mother come home with 4 of her teeth missing after a police officer punched her in the face. So I've experienced, you know, a lot of these things. And so I made sure to try and protect my children from those experiences and to educate them, because my parents did not tell me about my history. They did not tell me about what I was going to face on the streets. They were so busy struggling and trying to fit in to an alien society, as aliens in a new society, that they failed. And most of them, parents at that time, failed to really let us know about our roots and our true identity.
Yeah, the same was true here in America. I have to tell you, the same was true.
So
because people were taught to be ashamed of their heritage.
Of who they are.
Yeah.
Yes. So they wanted to forget Jamaica, but that didn't last for long because reggae music came along, you know, and the Rastas that they tried to get away from, my generation became Rastas, you know, and we identified with Africa, you know, and you know, with everything I went through, and I want to say this most honestly and sincerely, with all of the things that me and my family went through at the hands of racism, we never had one bad thing to say about white people. We never had any bad feelings. The only people we felt animosity towards were the people who were trying to oppress us and racist people. My mom's best friend was a white Irish lady named Mary, okay? So it wasn't like, oh, they're being bad to us, we're going to be bad to white people. There was no there was no retaliation from the Black community.
Mhm.
You know, we just took the blows and carried on rolling. But the high point for me, the highest point for me was when I left, when I became famous in my country. I moved out of the ghetto into a white neighborhood.
Mhm.
And I took my family and my children to this neighborhood and bought a home. And I never imagined in my wildest dreams that I would be able to buy a home for my family. Okay, because we were living off government subsidies all of our lives. So when I bought this home and a few other Black people moved to these neighborhoods outside of the ghetto, we realized that we was in the heart of the National Front organization, the gangs that were attacking us in the ghetto and in the
Oh,
city
God.
center. We went to their neighborhood. We moved into their neighborhood. And we had some of the toughest gang members in my neighborhood. And one of my neighbors, they stabbed him and he almost died. So I tried my best to avoid it until one evening, I heard my son, who was only 9 at the time, screaming. And him and his friend were being chased by two National Front racist adults chased them to my front door. And I was in the shower and my wife is screaming and they're out there shouting nigger and everything outside of my front door. And I looked at my son and I said, what happened? When I got out the shower, they walked away and I said to my son, what happened? He said, Dad, I just walked my friend to the bus stop and they started chasing us saying they're going to kill us. So I just took the back route home and they chased us all the way to the front door. And anyone that knows me knows that I don't get angry very often. And I don't get violent. It takes a lot. So anyway, I went after these two guys. I went to go and find them to find out why. And before I left home, I had a choice of things that I could have picked up to put in my hand. And I decided to take a piece of wire, okay? And I went with this wire, I put the boys in the car and went after these two guys, and I found them walking casually half a mile up the road. And I said to them, why are you chasing my son and his friend? Look at the size, they're only children. Why are you two guys chasing them all the way to my front door? And then they approached me to fight me. So anyway, I'm not going to say exactly what happened, but after the guy got out of hospital, after the ringleader, the gang leader got out of the hospital at 7 a.m. in the morning, I was waiting for my house to be burnt to the ground.
Jesus.
I couldn't sleep all night. And then I heard my doorbell ring at 6 a.m. And when I opened the front door, I saw him, he had stitches from here all the way to his back of his head with a piece of wire. I only hit him once. That's all I did, one hit. And he had
Well, what you're describing, I have to say this to you, Pato, what you're describing is the story for Black people everywhere who've left their homeland.
Mm-hmm.
It is really the truth. And I have to also say, I've worked with people from European countries who came here and they were new, or Jewish people who came who were new. There's something about that not wanting to accept people, but it is more severe because you can identify somebody who looks African.
That's
it's much
right.
easier.
It's
So
much
the
easier.
question as I'm listening to
Dr.
you.
Brenda, hold on one sec, because it's 6 o'clock.
Oh my God, we have to start the show.
Yeah, so give me, stick
Thank
on
you,
the show.
Pato, for sharing.
Yeah, no, and stay right there. I'm actually going to leave you on camera, but I do just need to go live on Facebook. Here we go. And actually, what you shared was so powerful. So powerful.
Yes, so powerful. And thank you, Dr. Laura, who just pointed out that Black people in Africa are facing racism too.
Yes, very much so.
I want to welcome everybody joining us on Facebook. We actually started our early show, and Pato has just been sharing an amazing story. So this is a little bit different, kind of an opening than usual for the Awakening World. But welcome everybody, and I want to thank all of you watching on Unify, on the YouTube channels, all the different Facebook pages. A big thank you to the SINE network, John and Sommer Raymer, who helped get us out to over 100 groups and pages. Thank you. And you can come on into the Zoom room. And I tell you, you want to do that because we're going to have a very dynamic conversation. We had a really powerful one last night. We're going to continue this dynamic conversation today. And it's easy. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com, globalpeacetribe.com, and register. And I'm going to show you who's going to be on the show tonight. I'll kind of spotlight them. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, introduce my co-host for tonight. And this is Dr. Brenda Wade. And Dr. Brenda you've seen her on the Dr. Oz show. She's very, very popular here in the local Bay Area. And I so enjoy her intelligence and her great heart. So thank you, Dr. Brenda, for being with us.
Thank you, Scott. It's an honor to be with you and to be with all the extraordinary speakers, Pato, Antoinette, Wild Abbott, and we have another doctor who joined. I can't wait.
Well, I'll introduce them because there they are. There's Pato and Antoinette. And we get to have a lot of time with Pato and Antoinette tonight. And everybody stick around because we're going to see an amazing video that Pato created in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King. And then we're going to learn all about the new courses that they're teaching. So welcome, Pato and Antoinette. I love you two so much.
Thank you.
Already you've contributed so much this weekend, both through my show and all the shows that you're doing as part of the MLK Convergence. So thank you so much.
Nice.
And I know that this next woman is a friend of yours. It's Dr. Marty Casey. And we love Dr. Marty Casey. Welcome so much to have you. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so disappointed that I missed the pre-show. I mean, I came right on in and some really good stuff here. I got to listen to the replay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we will. And, we always have great music. And for tonight's show, one of my absolute favorite musical artists is with us, Nina Gray, who is not only an amazing singer, but a wise woman. And I'm really looking forward to both your wisdom and your perspective that you're going to share tonight, Nina, as well, of course, with your music. So thank you.
I always love being here.
Nice.
I also want to really acknowledge, I mentioned him a moment ago, this is John Raymer. And
it's a joy to be here, Scott. It's amazing what a beautiful family we have. This is like coming home. I'm not saying more because I don't think I should. Scott, you froze on me. Okay, I see what happened, guys.
Yeah.
Well, it's true what I'm saying. I know everyone's feeling it. And what did Dr. King says, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. And if you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, got to keep moving forward. Keep moving forward.
Amen.
I love it that you have the beloved community, which was so much a part of King's mission.
Yeah, boy. You read his words, it's like, oh my God, he sees exactly what's going on. It's just clarity. Hate will not drive out hate.
Hey,
Love
everybody.
alone will conquer hate.
All
Yes.
right.
For some reason, my camera or my Zoom on my big computer went out. So I'm going to play with that for a moment. But thank you for covering. I love how we all support each other in amazing ways that way, right?
As the
So-
world should be, Scott. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I wanted to say something else about the beloved community that you have behind you. And, that term, beloved community, came first from Dr. Howard Thurman, who said the most segregated moment in the United States was Sunday morning. when everyone went to their place of worship, only with people who looked like them, spoke like them, came from where they came from. And he said, if we can't learn to pray together, there is no hope for us to live together. And so he created the Church for the Fellowship of All People. I attended that church for years, and on any given Sunday, we'd have a First Nations leader, we'd have an imam who'd do the call to prayer. In the Muslim faith, we'd have a rabbi. And my daughter spoke one morning, and her sermon, she was 13, her sermon was, why can't God be a woman? So that's the kind of latitude we had. So Beloved Community embraces everyone. And I like it that you have the rainbow colors there. So everyone is represented.
Oh,
Thank you. There's a quote I read the other day in the Urantia book. And I won't be able to say it word for word, but it's totally in line with what you were saying. And it says something like, it is the hope that future spiritual leaders will not be so concerned with aligning with like-minded people, but more concerned that everybody comes together to worship the one God.
And I think that's really interesting. Is that where you got the idea of the group prayer circles? Because that is something that's actually
where it comes from.
It's actually part of our show experience. So you have to tell them about your prayer circle.
When we do our concerts, at the end of the concert, normally the last song, before I do the last song, I'll say, if anybody wants to stick around after the show, I'm going to be in the parking lot outside or across the road, wherever there's a space. I'll scout it out before the show, but I'll tell them where I'm going to be after the last song. And I say, come and meet me for a prayer circle.
Yeah.
And
there's
then
something about that when you say, come hear me sing or join me singing, or we're going to pray together, that energetic transmission just ignites like this, because we bypass all that mental noise and nonsense we're programmed with, and it goes straight to the heart. I've experienced you guys before when you've brought your musical offering, and it just goes straight to the heart. I love it. I love you.
Thank you.
So Antoinette, you wanted to say something about the prayer circle?
No, it's just the first time I experienced them. The first time I was touring with Pato, I was going around trying to get, when you get the names on the email list, to sign up, like get on the mailing list and become fans and stuff. Everybody was in the prayer circle. Everybody from the venue was in the prayer circle. And I'm just sitting there. I was like, all right, I'll just wait until they all come out. Nobody is paying me no mind. They're just kind of walking by me and they're saying, I can't believe that I was holding hands with the Jew on one side and a Muslim on the other side. And this person was praying to the tree. And this person was,
I have to throw this in, guys. Bear with me. We just got a comment in the chat from the Mystic Abbot, who said, it's all denominational. The IRS wants to know if this is a new denomination. Thank you, Mystic Abbot. Yes, it's a new denomination. All right, we're going to spend it. That was a great one.
First of all, thank you for covering while I'm getting my computer here. There's all sorts of interesting things going on. I want to turn over to Nina Gray, because we always love talking about music, talking about the universal language.
Yeah.
And
well, I have a complaint about Nina Gray already, if you don't mind. She's so unattractive. I don't know what we're going to do with her. Beautiful lady.
Nina, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And, we're talking about, of course, the vision of Martin Luther King, and we want to celebrate what has been accomplished while recognizing we have a long, long way to go. And so in addition to your beautiful music, I certainly want to hear anything you have to say about our theme for tonight.
Goodness. I mean, just gratitude for us all coming together, first and foremost. And I think it's being circulated here, this aspect of all denomination, all of us coming together to bypass and look beyond the programs and the systems and the societal conditionings that have been imprinted into the human condition, and we're ready to evolve past that, and we're actively stepping beyond it, whether it be outside of shows, inside of places of worship, in writings and teachings. Even the vehicle of social media has been so powerful in dismantling old ideas and organizing people offline to gather under new tenets, or the tenets that Martin Luther King Jr. knew we could live into the dream of. And we are that dream now. And so it feels like a really exciting time to be alive. And with that excitement comes a responsibility to make sure that we are actively bringing forth this idea of unity, inclusion, and, as Martin would say, not becoming silent about the things that matter. Using our voices. Using our voices.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. And in that spirit, a song to share called Martin Had a Dream. Oh, Martin had a dream, and so do I. I dream we see love when we're looking in each other's eyes. Oh, Sammy always told us that a change would come. We've been wondering how long we're gonna wait on it. Well, how about tonight, right here where we are? Oh, we got everything we need for a brand new start. Well, how about a change? A change from the inside. Oh, we've come a long way. We'll stay for the shift in the tide. Oh, 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 how about tonight, right here where we are? Oh, we've got everything we need for a brand new start. Well, how about a change? A change from the inside. Oh, we've come a long way, and we'll stay for the shift in the tide. Ooh.
Yes.
We're here
Wow.
We're here for it.
Nina, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much. And such a inspiration. I've got to let everybody know that my main computer, for whatever reason, is not catching the internet. I'm on my little desktop, my little laptop. So we're going to have to be a little bit flexible, because all the things I have like lined up to show are, we're going to have to be very flexible until I get this squared away. So I'm grateful.
And people are saying in the chat, perfect song for today, Shift in the Tide. Beautiful.
We can improvise, Scott.
Well, yeah. So in the spirit of improvisation for a moment, I'd love to just open it up to anybody who wants to share how Martin Luther King has influenced you. How has, whether it was his vision, his words, even the horror of his assassination, how have you been inspired by this man? Because each and every one of you is a part of this show, because I have tremendous respect for you. You're all activists. You're all making a difference in the world. So I'd love to hear from, maybe we'll start with Fatima and Antoinette. How have you been inspired by this incredible man?
For me personally, you know, I'm a follower of Christ, you know, and when I studied the life of Christ and realized that this guy, and I have faith in who he was and what he did. And when I realized that this person had the ability to heal people, he had pre-knowledge of what was going to happen before it happened. He had the ability to feed 5,000 people with a couple of loaves of bread and a couple of fish. He could heal leprosy. And he told his apostles that in a few months' time, they're going to come after me, arrest me, and they're going to kill me. But 3 days later, I'm going to come back. Okay? Now, his apostles walked around with swords. They had a defense mechanism to defend him. And even though he told them what was going to happen, they didn't want to accept it. So when the Roman soldiers and the Jews came to get Jesus, they drew their swords. And, you know, one of the apostles cut one of the Roman guys, chopped his ear off to defend Jesus. And Jesus said, all of you put down your weapons. Step back. I am going to go and face what is ahead. And everything that he said was going to happen, happened. And what I learned from Jesus in his nonviolent approach for change, for future change, because if he had fought, he would have been just as wrong as the people that was coming to arrest him. And history would have been a different story.
Mm-hmm.
So he made a demonstration of his life and showed me true courage. But there was a kind of disconnect. Even though I believed all of it, there has always been a disconnect because I've seen him as more than human. So Martin Luther King, he affected me so deeply as a Black man, you know, because he was willing to maintain his dignity, even when they bombed his house, even when they spat at him, even when they beat him and arrested him. And the reason was, and for me personally, you know, if you come and disrespect me personally or disrespect my family personally, I'm going to defend my ground. But if I have to represent my people or represent a cause, I'm going to look to Martin Luther King for that level of dignity, self-control, and courage. That is what he taught me, and that is what he showed me. You know, coming from the ghetto where I came from, we were much more in love with Malcolm X because he wasn't taking no crap. But then when Malcolm X became more open-minded, it gave us more of an open, and more of a view that, hold on, we're all one. And then when you observe Martin Luther King, he wasn't only relying on Black people for the Black cause. He relied on everybody to come together to unite for the right cause.
Mm-hmm.
And in every issue that he stood up and defended, it wasn't just about one race defending what was right and what was true. It was about bringing everybody together to support what was right for the future. So what I learned from him was look towards the future when you're dealing with humanity, and maintain your dignity and your self-control and a true level of courage, that when you're on the front line facing weapons and you don't have any weapon, that is a different level of courage. It's easy to go to war and be on the front line when you've got other people on the front line with you, all with their weapons. But when you're going on the front line as a peaceful warrior, that takes a different level of courage. And so, you know, I will always love and honor Martin Luther King for what he did. You know, he was truly brave.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love what you shared, Pato. And I'd like to add, when his mentor, Dr. Howard Thurman, went to India and met with Gandhi. Forgive me. Yes, he did meet with Gandhi. And Gandhi, the first thing he said was, "Would you sing a spiritual for me?" So to your earlier comment about spirituals, I had to add that. But he also talked deeply with Howard Thurman about what it meant to be nonviolent. And when you said that a moment ago, you made me think of that conversation between Gandhi and King, because Gandhi was following ahimsa. We will have nonviolent resistance because it's the high ground. If people are going to beat and hurt someone who's helpless, it's kind of like your story of having to defend your son, a child from an adult who was attacking him. So somewhere in all of this, we have to find the way to hold what Howard Thurman called, and then what King called, the moral high ground. Because in that space, no matter what's coming at us, we're generating heart energy, generating this heart power. With the 12 powers of the heart, love, wisdom, and truth is the trifecta. And what you just talked about was that trifecta, to come from love, wisdom, and truth. Because, I'm looking at this energetically, that's the highest frequency. That's the highest frequency. And that is always what's going to win at the end of the day, is coming from that high frequency, even if it means the ultimate sacrifice. King gave his life.
Yes. Willingly.
Yeah.
Knowingly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I was going to say that. Absolutely. Martin Luther, like I said last night, he was a follower of Christ, and it was amazing, like that teachings about how you were expressing how Christ was, and how when we look at one of the biggest lessons, I remember there was one quote, and we always kind of read that one, is like, devote your life to proving that love is the greatest thing in the world. And this type of mission, like on a spiritual level, it's like, if you could overcome hate because of love, it's like, I bet you I can do this. I may get knocked around a few times and everything, but I bet you that this is going to withstand everything. This was the true test that Christ was trying to show the world. It's because that was the thing, is like the ultimate love of forgiveness, by him saying, something, no matter what, I love you guys. I love you and I forgive you. No matter what you do to me, I will always love you and I will always forgive you.
Yes.
And that is my lesson to everybody. It's not what you've done to me, but it's just that I will always love you and I will always forgive you. And that's my message I leave with you.
Yes, so, and forgiveness is one of those 12 powers of the heart.
And when you watch, like, historically, like how things are, remember how everybody was feeling about Mandela? It's like, he's a terrorist because things happened to go down a certain way in the organization, the way things that went down with Winnie, and the way that I didn't even get a chance to even know about my own history until the Eyes on the Prize series on PBS came out, back in the 80s. And I taped that on VHS so that way my daughter could actually get, civil rights history. So that we can get our history, because the only history we would have would be Martin Luther had a dream, we were slaves, and then, we were free. That was the three things, and that was it. So that 10-part series, which is now a 20-part series, one of the most eye-opening things I've ever seen in my life. And the way the movement is, and it shows you what happened, everything in the movement.
Yes.
And we've been knocked down so many times. It didn't matter who our leaders were, because people would sit there and say, well, if you guys weren't violent, well, look what happened when we weren't violent. You killed him. And then when you were violent, you killed him. And then when you was in between, you killed him. We had the Panthers. We had
all of that, 100%.
Who did we not have? We had Tuskegee. We had Florida. We had all these places. We had Tulsa. It's like, what did we not try and what did we not?
Can I add something to what you're saying? You just mentioned Florida. For the first time in my life, I truly understood what systemic racism really is. There's a film, and it's about Florida. It's called Invisible History. So anyone, if you can find that film, I think it's on PBS Passport. Don't quote me on that. but look for the film Invisible History. The filmmaker, Valerie Schoon, just won an Emmy,
Right.
and she drills down into what happened, and you can understand what economic disparities are. You can understand what health disparities are. You can understand what it means to be in a truly segregated community, because 40%, I never knew this till I saw the film, 40% of all the African people who were brought here and enslaved lived in Florida, because that's where the cotton came from. I never knew it. So there's just so much in this one film, because to your point about Eyes on the Prize, that's about the civil rights movement. And before that, what led to it is what Invisible History is about. So I want to add that in.
Yeah, and they could throw in that also one called Rosewood, by John Singleton. I
100%.
still can't even watch this movie.
Yes.
But I double dare anybody to watch
painful.
this movie. Pato
Yeah.
will break down after 5 minutes, but I double dare anybody to watch that movie Rosewood
Yeah.
all the way through with John Singleton.
Yeah, and the key is what we're talking about is educating. If we can't see it, we can't heal it. We have to be able to see the truth, to see what has happened. And I invite anyone who thinks they haven't been programmed with racism, think again. It's been sprinkled on your cereal. It's it's in the water we drink. It's in the air we breathe. So being conscious doesn't mean saying, oh, I'm not racist. My best friends are Black, or my best friends are white. It means saying, I am part of whatever is happening here. That was Martin Luther King's, you're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. And Scott, the thing I love about the community that you have gathered is that you have everybody here for the same reason. We're all here to raise our consciousness, raise our awareness, and open our hearts. Guys, if you look at Scott, how many times has he already done this? He's always coming from his heart. He's always touching his heart.
Always.
He's always bringing his heart.
Always.
He brings us all together.
Thank you.
If it's okay, Scott, I just want to culminate the story I was telling earlier.
Yes, please do. Please do.
I want to culminate it. After the conflict I had with these racist guys, and after he came out of hospital, early in the morning, my doorbell rang and I saw him, and he apologized. I invited him in. I invited him into my house. I made him a cup of tea, and he apologized for his behavior.
Wow.
Then when he went home, and his big brother, and not just older brother, I mean bigger brother, twice the size of him, when his brother saw him and saw what had been done to him, he was so outraged that he came straight to my house in military fatigue. And he shouted at me from outside my house, "Nigger, come down here now. I'm going to kick your ass." And I had a choice again of what I should go and grab to have in my hand. And I decided at this point, I'm going to be nonviolent. And what is to be will be. And I didn't even put on my shoes. I went outside in my socks. And I went and faced this guy that was much, much taller and bigger than me. And he was just puffing and just getting himself, like ready to give me a good beat down. And I said to him, before this starts, before this goes down, do you have any children? And he said, yeah, what of it? And I says, how would you feel? He says, yes, I've got 2 daughters. I said, how would you feel if your daughters ran home with me chasing them, calling them all kinds of racist names? What would you do and how would you feel? He said, I would kill you. And I said, that's what your brother did to my son and his best friend last night. And he just stood there and started to cry. And he turned around and walked away. 2 days later, I found out where they lived, and I went to their home, and I went and met their parents because they were threatening to sue me for damages. So I went and met their parents, and I said to their parents, are you aware that your two sons are terrorizing Black people in this neighborhood? That was the last incident of any racist attacks in my neighborhood.
Oh,
That was the
great.
end. And we became friends.
That's amazing. Talk about the power of transformation in the human spirit. What a story. Thank you for sharing that, Pato, because it makes me feel, first I was crying when you were telling the story, but then I feel so hopeful. Like this is what's possible because you spoke the truth. And each time you spoke the truth to them, you know, it's like ringing a bell. You wake up.
There's a term that I love, which is a holy moment. And Marshall Rosenberg, who was my mentor, taught that in nonviolent communication, we're always looking to find that holy moment of connection. And that's what you did, Pato. You helped him to connect to your pain, to the pain you had, knowing that his brother had harassed your children. And there was a holy moment of connection.
Yes.
You know,
And
that's
he realized that even though I was Black and different to him, my emotions about my children were exactly the same as his.
Exactly.
To protect my family, you know, at any cost. And I want to just add one little thing. When this conflict happened, and I hit him only once, there was two of them, but I only hit the most aggressive one once. He went down. And when he went down, there was a pool of blood around his head. And his friend, his cousin, stood over him crying, looking at me saying, you killed him. You killed him. And then it was in the middle of the night, and all the neighbors in this white neighborhood started turning on their lights, looking out the window. And I'm standing in the middle of the street, and I'm saying to myself, I am going to die tonight because I'm not running away from this spot. I'm staying here. So if the rest of the gang come here, I'm not bringing them to my home. They're not going to attack my family. I'm going to stay here and die here. And if I don't die here and he dies, I'm going to go to jail when the police arrive. And I'm going to get life in jail for doing what I did on the spur of the moment. And I stood there with all these thoughts going in my head, and nobody came except for one police car. And when the officer came out the car, he looked at the guy and he looked at me and he says, what happened? And I said, you can see what happened. He chased my son and this is the outcome. And he said, you can go home, Mr. Murray. These guys have been terrorizing people for the last 3 years. He said, thank you. This was a police officer, a white police officer. He said, thank you. And then right after he said, thank you, the ambulance arrived. And they tried to put him on the gurney to put him in the ambulance, and he woke up and started to fight the ambulance guys. So I jumped on him and I said to him, you are going to the hospital because you are not dying on me tonight. And he said, okay. And the ambulance took him away and the police left me. And I was the only one standing in the middle of the street after everybody left. And I'm like, whew.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank God.
Well, you know, it's an incredible story. And of course, there's so much for us to mine from this. You know, again, the connection and the compassion. And honestly, what comes to my mind, getting a little metaphysical for a moment, is how spirit used you. You showed up and spirit used you, and probably the angels looked after you.
Absolutely.
To play a sacred role, you
Yes.
know? You played a sacred role in stopping this dynamic that had been happening in terrorizing the neighborhood. and by really listening, even though you were under such dire circumstances, somehow you listened to your own inner guidance, your own inner wisdom. And in the process of that, there's an extraordinary happy ending to a story that had multiple opportunities for a very tragic ending.
Well, it was healing. It was a profound healing. You know, it's like putting up the wall and saying this has to stop here. You know, that's so aligned with our conversation about Dr. King, because now you had to use a different method than Dr. King used in that situation. You had to use, you know, meet that. But there was a thing on last night that I was watching about the Pettus Bridge, and I didn't know until last night it was named after a grand dragon in the Ku Klux Klan. Oh. And so they were marching across a bridge. It wasn't just in protest. It was that the bridge itself represented this oppression and this violence and this racism. It's quite interesting. So I appreciate very much the approach you took.
I would love to use this as a chance to transition into showing the beautiful video that Pato created honoring Martin Luther King. And now my internet's back working for however long it works. I'm grateful for that. So this is a really amazing video that he created. It's so beautiful. And so let's take a look at his beautiful dedication to Martin Luther King. And then we'll come back and hear from all of our
actually, this is me and Antoinette's dedication.
Thank you. All right. So Pato and Antoinette. And I'm going to put the spotlight on you as well, so that as we're watching this video, we're watching it together.
Yeah. This one is dedicated to the King, Martin Luther King, our civil rights champion. Understand me, no man. And this one is dedicated to all the people all over the world, to every man and woman, every boy and girl, to everyone who believes that equal rights and justice should apply to all, regardless of our color, class, or creed. This one's for Martin Luther King, our frontline soldier, Martin Luther King, our peaceful warrior, Martin Luther King, our civil rights leader, Martin Luther King. This one's for him. Well, just like MLK, I have a dream today. And like Bob Marley, I got so much things to say. Hey, wanna talk about empathy, equity and equality. Wanna talk about ending war and how to end poverty, how to end racial hate and police brutality. Cause where there's no justice, soldier, there can be no peace. Seems like humanity is in a state of emergency. We need more ethical leaders with a sense of integrity, like Martin Luther King, our frontline soldier, Martin Luther King, our peaceful warrior, Martin Luther King, our civil rights leader, Martin Luther King. This one's for him. You see, there are so many problems, and we need some solutions. Yes, let's get together now and start a love revolution. And we can't stop, no, we can't slow up. We gotta keep pressing on. If you can't run, then walk. Can't walk, then it's time to crawl. He said, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Darkness can't drive out darkness. Only light can do that. He said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I've decided to stick with love. Hate is too much to bear. He said, you can kill the dreamer, but you can't kill the dream. You see, unconditional love will rule in eternity. He said, the time is always ripe to do what is right. Lord, I hear the voice of Jesus say, don't give up the fight. He said, where do we go from here? Chaos a community, my people. Instead of fighting each other, show some unity. He said, we fight injustice with civil disobedience. So speak up, don't be silent, and always remain non-violent. Yeah, let's work it out, don't fight it out. Come on everybody, let me hear you sing it. Let's work it out, don't fight it out. This one is for the king. Let's work it out, don't fight it out. Come on everybody, one more time. Let's work it out, don't fight it out. Yeah. This one's for Martin Luther King. Our frontline soldier, Martin Luther King. Our peaceful warrior, Martin Luther King. Our civil rights leader, Martin Luther King. This one's for him, this one's for Martin Luther King. Our frontline soldier, Martin Luther King. Our peaceful warrior, Martin Luther King. Our civil rights leader, Martin Luther King. This one's for him.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the railroad, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream. We will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Nice. Are you muted, Scott?
Yes, Scott, you're muted. Scott, are you muted?
Scott? Okay, let's tell him he's muted.
Hey, Scott.
It looks like he knows. It looks like he knows.
Oh, okay.
Okay, he knows.
Okay. Awesome.
So any
Wow.
any
Pato,
thoughts?
Antoinette.
Love evolution. That is such a wonderful term. Love evolution is the solution. That was fantastic, Pato and Antoinette. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Wow.
I can hear it
Yeah,
100 times.
this one is dedicated to the king, Martin Luther King,
Scott is working out his sound
our
issues.
civil rights champion. Understand,
video.
man. And this one is dedicated to all the people all over the world, to every man and woman, every boy and girl,
And you want a copy of
to
the
everyone who believes that equal rights
Sorry,
and
can't hear you.
justice should apply to
Wild
all,
Rabbit Berry.
regardless
Thank
of
you.
our color, class, or creed. This one's for Martin Luther King. Our frontline soldier, Martin Luther King. our peaceful warrior Martin,
Martin Luther King,
our civil rights leader Martin.
Martin Luther King.
This one's for him. Well, just like MLK, I have a dream today. And like Bob Marley, I got so much things to say. Hey, wanna talk about empathy, equity and equality. Wanna talk about ending war and how to end poverty, how to end racial hate.
All right.
You did it, Scott. That was so amazing, you guys. Thank you.
Thank
wow,
you.
Pato and Antoinette.
Thank
Oh,
you.
that was just beautiful.
It's incredible.
I want to, one thing I wanted to ask you, Scott, have you ever seen the one that he did called Brothers and Sisters?
No.
This is, so this is the weirdest thing. I was sitting there all this time. So back to the reflection that I was going to give earlier about my influence about the Martin Luther King. So Pato wrote a song called Brothers and Sisters. And when he decided to write this song, I had this vision.
Yes, he did.
It's just one of those things. It's one of those Capricorn, January, born on the first kind of thing. It's like where I foresaw the future. And I said, in this video, I see like you're standing on a box, like the way that Malcolm X used to stand on those boxes in New York back in the 60s. He used to stand out there and preach to the people. And then until he would gather up a crowd of people and they would finally listen to them. Anybody out here in California or in New York City knows that you also got those other guys, the Israelites, they're out there kind of preaching and they might kind of get a little crowd. I said, here you are preaching the message that we're all God's children, brothers and sisters. We're all, brothers and sisters. This is the main message. And so I foresaw this thing where we go out there and we do that. But we're shooting the music video. I said, why don't we kill 2 birds with 1 stone? Because I'm always like, let's kill like 10 birds with 1 stone. And then he takes it next step further. All right, so we'll do an actual thing where you talking to the people, and then we'll do a peace march, and then we end up doing a free concert. And then in between, you officiated a wedding and then a birthday of an 85th birthday celebration all in one day. We
Love
started
it.
at 9
Love
in the
it.
morning. And this is all happening in real time. And, just
And
the
you're
whole thing.
spreading love everywhere you go, you guys. You're
With
bringing
real
the love.
people.
It's
It's
amazing. It's
I said,
amazing.
this is what MLK wanted. This is real people.
Yes.
And all the people with the signs, I said, I see this thing. You guys make your own signs like they did in the 60s, and you put your own messages. So now you're starting your own revolution, today, like they did back in the 60s, but it's going to be the peace and love and the nonviolent stance of Martin Luther King and stuff.
We're getting a big reverberation.
Uh,
Uh-oh.
I think it's Scott.
There we go. So here's what's going on, you guys. It's amazing timing. I have a large computer. It's my desktop, and it's having all sorts of electrical weird stuff going on. My mouse, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The internet goes in and out. I've got my small laptop right here, and I'm kind of going back and forth, kind of managing all of this. So it's just here.
You're
we are,
awesome.
all
It's
coming
the
from our
energy.
homes.
The energy is so
But
strong.
I
It's
did
blowing everything
find
out.
the video that you were just talking about, and I'm downloading it, and I will play it. The Brothers and Sisters. So,
Great.
thank you. I want to turn it over for a moment to a couple of the other people that we haven't heard from for a moment, and I noticed, Nina Gray, you were very moved. I could tell by your reaction to the beautiful video that Pato and Antoinette made for Martin Luther King, and I'd love to just turn it over to you, and also maybe Marty Casey for a moment, to hear from you what you have to say about this dialogue so far, because you're both very important members of our panel today, of our presenters. So Marty, meet Nina Gray. Nina Gray, meet Marty. And I'll put Pato and Antoinette back on, but I'd love to hear from anything you guys have to say. And you are muted, by the way.
First, you can. And I have met you before. I heard your beautiful music last year, and I instantly became a fan. You are really, really awesome and amazing. And I would love to link up with you and see how I can incorporate and use your music in some of the spaces where I interact. And because you are really, truly an amazing artist.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, and Dr. Marty's an amazing singer too, Nina. Yeah.
Ah,
Okay, then. Let's go. I feel like I've been sharing my voice. I'd love to hear from you, whatever you feel inspired.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to be on and be with everyone. So I'm glad to have this opportunity. But Pato and Antoinette, that video, like you said, we could watch that 100 times in a row and we still wouldn't thing that's in there. It's just so jam-packed with our history. And that's what I really love about it. And I said this to you all last year, and I will repeat it, that I feel like if that video was to go inside all of the classrooms across the world, and even if it was just during Black History Month, there's so much history in that video. And if I were to put together a packet to go along with that, asking a series of questions or what have you, I feel like that could really be used as a teaching tool. And it's something that's needed right now more than ever, because we are dealing with healing, with what's going on in our world right now, with the trauma. And that's the space that I sit in. My company is Ungun Institute, where I help individuals disarm trauma. I'm an activist, a professional actress / activist. And I became an activist. I first, thank you, Nina. I first want to show this. This is the actual newspaper of when Dr. King was slain in 1968. If you want to highlight that real quick, Scott, I don't know if you.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. And that's the actual newspaper. Let me hold that up again since it's been highlighted. Dr. King is slain by sniper. And that's in 1968. I was born in 1971. So if it was not for my family bringing history into my life and sharing what actually took place with Dr. King, knowing that some of my family members actually participated and marched, they were a part of the movement. And I would not have known the power of this man and who he is even today, because I was born after the civil rights movement. So I'm a beneficiary, a direct beneficiary of what Dr. King stood for. And I always share this because those who may be listening that are my age and younger, I think it is important for us to understand the responsibility that we hold, that we are not just celebrating and commemorating a man of such greatness, but we are also keeping his legacy alive. That is what we've been called to do, because from the moment that he was slain, this one man carried so much of our future on his shoulders. And they felt like if they could kill Dr. King in that moment, they would have killed a nation of Black people, our history, all. They thought that one bullet would take out everyone. And what we do today shows that it does not. We give gun violence power when we die before we even get hit by the bullet. I'm going to repeat that again. We give gun violence power when we die before we even get hit by the bullet. Dr. King was dying a slow life even before he was slain, simply because he was killed at the age of 39. But I want you to think about what all this man was carrying in a very traumatic way, in a very stressful way. And at 39 old, to be hit by the bullet, and the bullet is the cause of the actual death in that moment. But how was he dying prior to? Because he was carrying so much responsibility of a nation and of a people, for not just Blacks, not just those in the village, because there's a difference between the village, the community, and the global scale of who we are. When I speak of the village, I'm speaking of who I am as a Black sister here in the United States of America. My village is my Black people. But when I speak of community, I'm speaking of all of us who's on this screen right now. We all become one family. holiday in the community. And when I speak about it as global, I'm talking about the birds, the bees, the trees, the water, and I'm talking about everything on a global level because we're all affected by that. We live together outside. Together, we all live outside. So what happened to Dr. King when he was shot that day? He wasn't the only one that was shot at. We were also shot at. We are still healing from the bullets, the trauma bullets that were shot at us on that day when one bullet took Dr. King out. So here I'm going to fast forward, and I'm going to make this really quick, but I'm going to fast forward to when I became the first African-American president for the freshman class at a school called Missouri Baptist University. And January 15th rolled around in 1990 when I was a freshman, and I would have been turning 19 January 24th. So at this particular moment, I was 18 years old. And I was told that on January 15th, we had class to go to. Well, in 1986, Ronald Reagan had already signed for Martin Luther King's holiday to be a federal holiday. That means every state should have been recognizing Dr. King's birthday as we do today. They were not, they were slow to move. And so I thought about it. I'm the freshman class president, and I'm in a co-ed dorm with blacks and whites, boys and girls, and you telling me we have school today, not on my watch. I got up early and I knocked on every door in that co-ed dorm. And I said, we're not going to go to class today, but I need everybody to meet me downstairs. And I taught them every song that I thought that I could teach them, because I was also there on a full scholarship for music. So again, I believe in infusing the arts in my activism and what I do, and that's what Ungun is all about. It's the arts. If you spell trauma, trauma is TRAUMA. That's art backwards. The first three letters of trauma is art backwards. Turn it around and we can heal. We can heal our trauma from within. That's what art does. That's what happens when we watch Antoinette and Pato's music video, and when we heard Nina pick up that guitar, we began to heal already in this collective space. And it still is so. So when I got him downstairs, I taught him "We Shall Overcome" and "Kumbaya" and Stevie Wonder's version of "Happy Birthday, Dr. King." Because had it not been for Stevie Wonder making that song and singing that song in Washington, D.C., I believe that President Ronald Reagan would not have ever even heard it. And therefore, it would not have even landed on the desk for the president to sign his signature to make this a holiday. You have to understand the power of music. Music is a universal language that even when we're speaking something we don't necessarily understand from village to village or village to community or community to global, we can speak the same language when we pick up guitars, when we sit at the pianos, when we sing behind the mic. That's when we can grab the attention of each other, because it's a safe space to feel and to be and to express. And that's who Dr. King was. That's why Dr. King traveled with a Mahalia Jackson. That's why Dr. King had the Motown singers behind him from all of those who were signed under Berry Gordy, and wherever and whenever he needed them, they were right there for Dr. King. Where's the music today? Where's the music in your heart? What is the song that pushes you forward in the movement? We all should have a song in our heart, because even if they lock us up, even as we're still fighting racism over 50 years later, when you lock us up, you can't lock up my mind. And that's what trauma is all about. You can't take away who I am. So in that moment, here I am, I'm pushing these people to sing these songs, and we're going to march from the dorm room up to the classroom. And I got a call from the dean of students, who was also over the music program that I was singing in, where I received my scholarship. And he said, "Marty, if you don't get everybody back to class, you're going to lose your scholarship." I said, "Wow." I said, "Well, I don't have to lose anything if I just give it back to you, because I'd rather stand for something than to fall for anything."
Amen.
Wow.
Dr. Marty became an activist, and Dr. Marty dropped out of college. So how did Dr. Marty become Dr. Marty? And she hasn't finish school. I want you to know my life became my school. So I received an honorary doctorate for all the work that I've been doing for over the last 30 years. And I carry that and I put that before my name and I wear it with pride simply because I stood up in places and I sacrificed in ways that others today would not sacrifice. And I did that not just for me, but I did it for us. And who knew that I would go from being a troubled teen back in high school to now being a global peace ambassador? To God be the glory that I just received a lifetime presidential award signed by President Joe Biden back in November for the work that I have been so tirelessly trying to do. Us, just like Dr. King. So I want you to know that Dr. King's dream was not just for him. If you don't remember anything else that I've said tonight, I want you to know that the Dr. King's dream was not just for him. He dreamt that dream for a nation, so that we all will understand that every man and woman is created equal. And we need to walk in that. If the birds can learn how to fly in the sky with the bees and the bees with the butterflies and the butterflies with the airplanes, why can't we as blacks and white learn to walk together on the same sidewalk, holding each other's hand, holding each other up and supporting each other in every way that we can through love? I know that we can. And so it is my honor to be here tonight, Scott. I thank you. And I thank you for inviting me to share the stage with such amazing men and women, my brothers and sisters, my neighbors of the community, my global sisters and brothers, and even my brothers and sisters in the village. I thank you tonight, Scott, for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Now, don't go away yet. Hold on a moment.
Whoa.
Hold on.
Yes.
Nope. Not going to let you go quite yet. Because a couple of things. First off, people are asking if you would be willing to sing. I don't know if that's a possibility. I also want to show people your Ungun Institute. And so I've pulled up the website because you're doing such important work. So this is the Ungun Institute. It's your work. And tell us, how can people who are, because our whole audience is blown away by you and the comments are flooding in, how can people support the work you're doing with disarming trauma through your Ungun Institute?
Well, first of all, I have not read the comments, but to anyone who's taken the time out to say anything, I want to thank you for hearing something to inspire you or empower you in any way. We are all the same. We're all on the same level. So I don't take any of this for granted. The way to reach me, if you go to unguninstitute.com, you can send an email or you can call me directly. That's right. I have a number where the globe can call me directly, and that is at 314-518-5508. Whatever might be on your mind, maybe you're thinking, how can I get involved? How can I volunteer? How can I help in some way? How can I book you for something? Whatever it might be, please don't hesitate. Reach out to.
Give us that number again, Marty, because I'm going to write it down into the chat box slowly because I'm writing it down.
Okay. 314-518-5508.
I love it.
314-518-5508.
Yes, 314-518-5508.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow, thank you.
And Dr. Marty is going to be with us tomorrow morning for our Sacred Sunday show. We're really blessed. We're going to go deep with Dr. Marty and Nina Gray. And so it's going to be the three of us. And it's a Zoom meeting, which means that people who come in can turn their cameras on, and it's going to be very participatory. So anybody who wants more of Dr. Marty or Nina or wants to be part of this dialogue, please join us on our Sacred Sunday show. That's tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock Pacific time. Debbie Johnson will put the Zoom link in where you can come on in and join us. So, Dr. Marty, we love you so much. I'm gonna go to gallery view because I know that You've got a lot of people here who love you, who are applauding you.
Yes, yes, yes.
The
yes,
wild
yes.
abbot has been going nuts during the whole time you've been speaking.
Wow.
So really, we love you so very much.
I love all of you all too, but I am in St. Louis, Missouri, where it's a little bit later than where some of you all are. So in order for me to get up early in the morning to be with you, I'm going to have to probably sign off now. I'm going to look at this chat and gather what I need to, but I just want to thank each of you all. I love you from the bottom, the top, and the sides of my heart.
Thank you.
Love you.
Thank you. Oh my God.
Dr. Brenda, what stood out for you?
Everything stood out for me. Her powerful Dr. Marty's energy, her commitment to her vision, the whole idea of ungun. We have more guns in this country than any country on the planet per capita, per capita. And there are so many people in this country who have suffered trauma because of gun violence. And if we can get guns out of the hands of teenagers off the street, out of the hands of police, I would be thrilled. And it's interesting because I always compare, and Pato, you can tell me if this is still true. In the UK, the police didn't wear guns.
No.
Right.
No.
And so why are our police using military weapons? Military weapons going through the community.
That's right.
So what Dr. Marty, what you're up to is so important. It's so phenomenal. And I think I'm going back now to Thurman and to King. Their whole message was nonviolence, but beyond nonviolence, it was to bring the human community together, to really connect people. You know, that's what Gandhi did. There's a famous story about Gandhi sending, the only thing he owned was his little loincloth, and he had sandals. And he sent his sandals in a box to his greatest enemy. You guys know this story, right? And his enemy was the head of the British military, who were raining hell down on the Indian people. And I can't think of the guy's name that he sent the sandals to, Scott. You can find that. It was Lord something something. And he got these sandals, and Gandhi said, "You are not my enemy. You are not my enemy. I want to give you a gift. I'm doing what I have to do because my people deserve to live in dignity." And I think that same story applies to Thurman, who then took it to King, that with dignity, we are not here to destroy or hurt or harm, but to stand up for love, for truth, for oneness. And the whole idea of oneness, these great historic and, dare I say, incredibly courageous teachers. Dr. Marty, you just brought all that alive for me. So thank you.
Nice.
Yes, you're on camera.
Thank you.
You know, I just want to add one thing. I was so inspired by Thurman and King and Gandhi, and I've spent a lot of time in India and all these places developing that inner spiritual core to be able to deal with all the things we have to deal with just growing up, you know, as a Black kid. And what I learned is that we can all tap into that power within ourselves. Listening to the music of Pato and Antoinette, I went there. Nina, when you were singing, Marty, when you were speaking, Scott, when you speak, there's just a vibrational frequency that's being released, and I'm seeing it spreading out now beyond who we are, what we're saying, what we're doing this evening, beyond just our thoughts and words. We're sending out a transmission, and I see it as a healing transmission and a heart-opening transmission. And I'm so grateful that we're all here together doing this work, because this is the work that's going to save the planet and save the world. I mean, I'm just saying. Call me crazy, but I think it's really important.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Brenda.
Well, you know, I've devoted my whole life to teaching about love, Scott. So this is what I've learned about love. We're all in this together.
Yes, we are. And we're all learning and we're all growing. You know, in changing the name of the show to The Awakening World, I mean, that is what's happening. We are waking up. But, you know, waking up is not always comfortable.
Exactly. That's why most people don't wake up. it's very uncomfortable to wake up and go, oh my God, it was me. I was part of the problem. I'm the one who hasn't learned to open my heart. Oh my goodness.
Well,
So,
and
so important.
as a privileged white man, surrounded tonight by all these incredible people of color who I have so much love and respect for, believe me, it's one of the things that I have to keep coming to terms with is, wow, where's my racist program? Now, obviously, I am not intentionally racist, but having to look at the areas where I have such profound racist indoctrination as a white man that's been privileged. I mean, hearing Pato's story earlier today about what he went through, and hearing really the stories of almost all of you have incredible stories. So I do want to put the attention for a moment. You know, we do fundraising every weekend. And I'm really proud that since this show began, we've raised over $150,000. And I'm really hoping that tonight we are going to raise some significant money. And tonight, our grantee, if you will, the person we're raising money for, is someone that I love very much. We all love very much. It's Antoinette. We were all shocked when recently we discovered that Antoinette had received the diagnosis of breast cancer. And as she always deals with things, she's dealt with it with such heart and such honesty and such vulnerability. Creating videos, letting us know, okay, kids, this is what's going on with me. And in her typical Antoinette way, you know, being very passionate and very real and very honest. And boy, I tell you, that cancer does not stand a chance in the ring against you, kiddo. There's no way. But we also really do need to give Antoinette our support. And so we're going to be putting into the chat box on Unify, all of you watching on Unify, on as many of the Facebook pages as we can, and certainly here in the Zoom room. Please, please donate. And I want to acknowledge that we started this yesterday, and a lot of people have already donated from last night. But please, of course, we're going to put Antoinette into our prayers. And in a moment, we're going to do a group prayer. That's a part of a new, something we've added to the Awakening World is every Saturday night we take a moment to pray. And so we're going to put Antoinette into our prayers. But we also really need green love. Green love is important because dealing with a healing at this level, there's so many ways that it financially impacts a person. So please, please be generous in donating to Antoinette. Please put her into your prayers. And again, we'll pray in a moment. And then we'll complete our prayer with my favorite way of praying, which is music with Nina Gray. But let's also be generous in our donation financially. And so I'd love to just invite everybody to take a few moments, and you can take a look here. And I'm going to actually put the spotlight on you, Antoinette. So I'm going to remove my spotlight. And as we look at beautiful Antoinette and her husband, her beloved Pato, I love what Paramahansa Yogananda taught, that a powerful prayer is two words: maximum grace. So I invite us all, as we look at Antoinette and Pato, maximum grace for this beautiful, beautiful woman. Maximum grace for this beautiful couple. Maximum grace for radiant health for both of them. Maximum grace. Maximum grace. Maximum grace. And I love seeing there's Reverend Deb blessing you, and there's Jerry blessing you, and Dr. Brenda blessing you, And Nina, blessing you. And Dr. Marty is still with us, and she's blessing you. And Deborah is blessing you. John Raymer, blessing you. There we all are, blessing you. Maximum grace, Antoinette. Maximum grace. And while we're all in gallery view, maximum grace now for anybody watching or listening who can hear my voice. Whoever you want to bring into our prayer circle, you can write it in the chat box, you can write it on Facebook, or you can just hold it in your heart. As we, the Global Peace Tribe, all come together. Maximum grace for anyone right now who we know of that's suffering. Whether they're in need of physical healing, financial support, emotional support, spiritual healing. Maximum grace for all of our beloveds.
God, as we're in this prayer circle, I would like to, if you don't mind, as we holding and calling out names for those who we're lifting up. I called out my mother's name. My mother has fallen ill in the last couple of days, and I put out my mother's name. But as we lift up those names, I would like to just sing a verse there was some request here that was asking me to sing, and I just want to honor.
Please, please.
Is asking. So I'm going to sing just this one verse of a song that we all have heard so many times before. And then I'm going to have to exit, but I just want to just say that it is love. I stand with you. Wherever I am, I'm with you always. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Victory will be won for you, Antoinette. Victory will be won. We will collectively come together to donate, to be here, to support, to help, so that victory can be won for you, my sister, in love. Bye.
Thank you so much, Marty. Thank you very, very, very much.
Love you, Marty.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Antoinette,
Wow, so powerful.
I'm going to put the spotlight on you for a moment, Antoinette, and just anything you want to share with our audience while they hopefully are continuing to contribute and support you.
I love what you said about, I'm glad you asked that, because I love what you said about maximum grace. You know, because a while back, I can't remember, I think in our spiritual ministry, we do like our studies, you know, that you was asking about before, but one of them that we were actually doing was on prayer. So, and the thing about prayer, and it was such a great, in-depth, long, and interesting study and all the different things. And so I want to let people know that, so when I pray for different things, I don't pray for things, meanings, values, or whatever. It's like, you know, you say grace, or that, you know, in the interfaith community, they say inshallah, you know, and it's like whatever God's will may be, will be. And that is something, for people who are of faith, that's why I don't mind, like, going onto Facebook Live and just kind of like telling you, it's like, I went away for a while because I had things to sit there and sort out. But I wasn't going to go away because they also talk about isolation is always a very negative and a very bad thing. Always just sit there and just stay with people, stay connected, stay positive, stay healthy, stay everything. If I do everything I'm supposed to do, then my cancer is supposed to be gone. If it doesn't work, then I'll probably try B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, or whatever. If that doesn't work, then I'm really, but it was weird because it's like, when we came into the thing with our ministry of the promised land of Edentia, I was standing there, like, I was like, damn, I'm going to be like Moses. I'm not going to be able to enter into the promised land. It's like, it took us so long to get to the promised land, and I'm not going to see the promised land. And then I was sitting there thinking about it. It's like, why am I tripping about this little promised land here when there's like the real promised land over there that's bigger and better, and my ideas can get put forth in the way that I've always envisioned? It's like, either way, it's like it's such a win-win situation. And I wish that, like, and I remember a friend of mine who was on her journey, and when she shared her journey, I said, I would like to be so brave and courageous like that, to not to be scared, to not to be fearful of death, when it's really life after death. It's the beginning of life. It's the no more pain. It's the no more suffering. It's the one love. It's the everything. Not that I'm trying to bounce out now, because I'm trying to see my promised land here now. But maybe, but I'm not trying to be to like 100, but a 10 or 20 years will be all right.
Well, I want to thank the people that have donated, and I always love naming them. And most people are coming in anonymous. We've got this person named Anonymous is just giving lots. But I want to thank Amanda. I want to thank you, Andrew Bailey. Thank you, Christy Michaels. Thank you, all you anonymous people. Thank you, Oshalla, Dia, Fu, Pegasus. Thank you all so much for your donations. And again, most of you are coming in anonymously, so thank you.
Thank you.
Scott, is there a moment to add something to Dr. Marty's prayer, that beautiful prayer? We talked about victory for you, Antoinette. And if we could take 60 seconds and tune that victory up a little higher in frequency, is that all right? So everybody, if you make your arms, if you're able to raise your arms, if you're not able to raise them into a V for victory, do it with your consciousness. And see the violet. The violet is the color of spiritual victory, spiritual overcoming, forgiveness, compassion. We're going to use this color, violet. And together, just for the next 30 seconds, we're going to say, always victory, 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 always victory. And we send that to you, Antoinette, to anyone else who's in need of victory in their lives, whether it's healing, whether it's family issues, whether it's your desire for love, the desire to bring into your consciousness this evolutionary impulse that's moving through this community, through the world now, that victory, victory, victory for all the divine powers for good. And together we just do 3 claps and we say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen, ashe, aho.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Brenda. Thank you. All right, I am going to turn it over to Nina Gray, because with all this energy, the only place we can go next is, I think, some powerful music. Take it away, Nina.
This song is called Ripple. This is in dedication to every opportunity we have every day to be the change. I feel like we just got called to, today is the day we get to absolutely lift up our sister Antoinette in this moment, to be a ripple. That is our moment today. Tomorrow will be a new moment, but every day, every moment, there is a way that we can stand for the change and the dream and the energy and the currency of love moving through us to our brothers and sisters into this world, to create the kind of experience that we know is possible in this dimension. So may this ripple move through you of music. And if you haven't yet, let the ripple move through to Sister Antoinette. The calling in time is here and now. On and on the world turns in all directions. All of these headlines, humans crying out for our attention. I wanna see change. I wanna see progress. I wanna make waves before I die in red. So I cast out a ripple every day. A ripple ever I stay, a ripple each day I do a little, a ripple in eyes that I meet, a ripple in time it might be a tsunami, but right now it's on me to cast out my ripple, 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 my ripple, ripple, ripple. Cast down my ripple, ripple. Oh, let's cast out our ripple, ripple, ripple. Our ripple, ripple, ripple. Our ripple, ripple, ripple. And make waves, create change. Ripple forth and wave on.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. That was so beautiful. I keep forgetting you're really just like right up the road from us, aren't you?
You're touring LA?
Yeah. I thought she's right up the road from us.
You gotta let me know next time you're gathering or holding prayer circle.
All right.
Oh yeah.
That was so beautiful, Nina.
That was very
Wow.
nice. After, so this is kind of like my plan, but the plan, the NED plan is because of my album that Pato was, we never got it like a real official launch to make the video, but we're gonna do a video on the promised land.
Yes.
Everybody's invited.
Yes.
Evolutionary leaders, Unity Earth,
Yeah.
Global Peace Tribe. We got like what? Couple Pato?
I popped Reverend Deb on there when you mentioned evolutionary leaders.
Because we got to do the blessing of the land. If
Yes.
Chief Phil Lane doesn't come and bless up the land, then the
Yeah.
land's not going to be blessed and whatnot, so.
Guys, I just want to say, Antoinette, somebody put in the chat a message for you saying that she's the head of an institute that does non-toxic healing for cancer. So if we can pull that out for Antoinette, make sure she gets that.
Great. Thank you, Brenda.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Brenda.
And for those who don't know, that was the idea, was the holistic group.
It's so good to see Reverend Deborah. Love you.
There she is. Coming to us from San Miguel de Allende. Yeah.
Can I say a few words?
Before you do that, I want to go back just because we always promote when we have a musical artist that we love as much as we love and appreciate Nina Gray. I do want to, before we move on, let people know how they can support her. And that's by going to her website, which is ninagray.com. It's her name. And, I am so fond of the Patreon program. And I support Nina through the Patreon program. And I really want to encourage people to go to ninagray.com, buy her records, and support her. Become a patron. And it's really easy. You just click here, and then you can choose at what level you want to be a patron. And it's, I think I'm at the $18 a month. I need to go up to the $42 a month level, Nina. And honestly, I support a lot of the musical artists that you see on this show, Kristen Hoffman and Cornflower. It's a wonderful way. And again, you guys, this pandemic's been hard on everyone. It's been really hard on our musical artist friends because so many of the ways that they normally perform, concerts canceled, clubs and restaurants closed, travel very difficult. So we really need to support artists like Nina by going in. And what's cool is she's constantly, I'm only at the $18 level, and I'm constantly getting all this new music from her and special messages from her. And they're beautiful. And it always lifts my day. I'm going through my email and it's like, oh, wow, there's a new message from Nina. There's a new song from her. And it's really cool. So please, please support all of our artists, but especially tonight. Go to ninagray.com and then support her Patreon program. And Nina, you always just uplift us so beautifully. Yeah.
Really appreciate you creating the kind of community where the sounds and the creations we make can reverberate forward and really find a home to reach the ears and hearts they're meant to reach. So, thank you.
Thank you, Nina.
Amazing.
All right. Well, we have not played our wisdom jewels yet. Usually we do it earlier in the show, and today everything's kind of gotten bounced around a little bit. But we have, I really appreciate that J. Mayer and Jan always create these wonderful wisdom jewels for us. And so in a moment we're going to do that. But I think somebody had started to say something, but I wanted to make sure we went to Nina.
It was Reverend.
Oh, that's right, Reverend Deb. Okay, I'm going to go
Reverend
to you.
Deb was trying to say something. Yeah.
Okay, there she is.
I don't want to hold up the wisdom tools. That's always such a beautiful moment.
No, please go ahead. We're good.
But first, I just want to give my deep thanks to the Nina and Dr. Marty and the wisdom of Dr. Brenda. It's just been so rich and beautiful. But the people that I want to talk about are my friends Pato and Antoinette. Because I can't believe that Pato has had to go through all of this trauma because of the color of his skin, when his heart is so open and so beautiful. And I want to tell you, Pato, that I appreciate the fact that you do prayer circles following your concerts, but in my opinion, you don't have to, because every concert you give is a prayer circle.
Yeah, good.
It's everything you sing about is peace and love and brother sisterhood and spirit. And spirit flows through both of you so powerfully. And Antoinette, there's no way we're ready to lose that voice, even if Identia is waiting for you. It can wait a long time.
I can see the make-believe Identia, what I think it's gonna be like, because anybody who knows what Identia, our purpose is called creating heaven on earth. And if you look at our mission statement about what our plan, our idea of creating heaven and earth is just the same thing, what Unity Earth and evolutionary leaders and all the different stuff that all the ideas that come together that we've always believed and supported in, so it's perfect. So that's why I said you guys have to be the very first ones to come and bless the land.
Well, thank you, Deborah.
Thank
you. So this is why it's so important. It's kind of a miracle that we have a national holiday honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes.
Because we have not yet had a leader since this is what, 54 years?
Yes.
We haven't had a political leader who speaks his truth the way he did, or even in another way, we'll take it. I mean, he was a preacher, so he had a powerful voice. But it's not just the power of his voice and the poetry of his words. It's the teaching of beloved community being all of us. And I was touched when I think it was Dr. Brenda who said something about the fact that Black and white people in America don't worship together. And this is something that I experienced when I live in Mexico now. You can see how beautiful it is where I live. But I lived in northern Westchester for almost 20 years. And because I sang in a church choir. The African American church that was in our part of Westchester would invite all of the choirs from the synagogues and the churches to come and celebrate MLK on this, it would be tomorrow, the Sunday service. And we would come and sing together. And all of the ministers and priests and rabbis and imams from the area would get up and speak their truth about unity and love. And then they would all take turns reading the I Have a Dream speech. And we would sing all together. And we would always close, of course, with We Shall Overcome. And you can't sing We Shall Overcome without holding hands with everybody. What other song has that power to make everybody in the room or in front of the Washington Monument hold hands with all of our sisters and brothers and be in that moment united in music, in that spirit of oneness and unity and love? So it breaks my heart that, and I would be there with the tears rolling down my face, just like they were during Pato's video and Antoinette's video, because you're gorgeous in that too, Antoinette. And it would be such an emotional moment for me. And then I would think, well, I don't understand. Why do we only do this once a year?
Yeah.
And yet, thank God that we do it once a year.
Yes.
And how can we all bring this forth with that kind of power and joy? And your story, Pato, about meeting violence with nonviolence, which made me think about the movie Gandhi, where Gandhi brings his little band of Indians to the salt factory or something like that, where they're striking basically.
Yes.
And they just present their bodies to be beaten up. Just like all of the brave civil rights workers back in the late 50s and early 60s when that movement was so powerful. And those beautiful little children just trying to go to school. And people were getting hosed and beaten. And so we began, when I say we, I didn't start it. The Association for Global New Thought started the Season for Nonviolence from the dates between the 40 days between the dates of the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. King. And we would do a program at the United Nations, which is actually how I met Diane Williams, who's the founder of the Source of Synergy Foundation that holds the evolutionary leaders. And Michael Beckwith would come and speak truth at the United Nations. But where is that spark? Where's that spark in our culture today? Where is it in our politics today? And how can we all come together and shine that light? So thank you everyone for this beautiful program.
Thank you, Reverend Deb. Thank you. And if you want more of her, guess what? Next weekend, she's one of our guests. Next weekend, it's kind of a good chance to talk about our show for next weekend. And it's dedicated to discovering the miracles of divine love. And we've got Marianne Williamson, our beloved twin Ray, Shekinah Ma, and Sanandaji. My co-host all weekend is Eden Almadora. Wonderful music with Johanna Beekman and Josh Jaffe and Astarius Miraculi, and Deborah Moldow is going to be with us as well. So Deborah, really looking forward to sharing that next weekend with you. And thank you for your passion and your love.
And we just got word that Jimmy Twyman's going to join us.
Oh, he's going to join us. Great.
Yes.
Right. All right. So you heard it first. She suggested it this morning, and so we reached out to Jimmy. So that's great that he's going to join us. That's awesome. Reverend Deb, I'm going to move on to our wisdom jewels, but thank you so much for your passion and your love and for being who you are. You're precious. We love you. All right. I appreciate that Jay and Jan always create these wonderful wisdom jewels, and they're really, really fun. So let's take a look at this week's wisdom jewels honoring the spirit of Martin Luther King. And I think there's going to be some really wonderful ones here. Let's take a look.
Wow.
A big
Beautiful.
Yeah, oh, Jay and Jan do such a beautiful job in choosing them. And next week, Jay is going to be doing a light touch after show, and I'll show a little promotional video for that a little bit later. I want to bring on John Raymer. John is one of our absolute beloved members of our community. He has put together this incredible beloved community, MLK Beloved Community Convergence, which we're going to hear all about. He's also who created, along with his partner, Sommer, the SINE network, SIN, which is how a lot of you are watching us. We go out over about 100 Facebook groups and pages through the SINE network. And John, thank you so much. I want to put the full spotlight on you and tell us all about what you're doing with the Convergence, the events that are still going to take place tomorrow, and also about your Compassion Games grant program.
Yeah. Well, it is an honor to be here. Not just here, but to be connected to this beautiful family. Dr. Brenda is such a joy to hear your words. And Nina, you're talking about ripples. We make sine waves. That's actually what we're doing to support this work. I grew up in Brooklyn. And, you asked before about Dr. King. They say that you can kill the dreamer, but you can't kill the dream, right? That's our job. That's my job, to make sure that we do not lose that dream. That was the dream. He said it so clearly. As a Jewish kid in Brooklyn, the loss of Dr. King changed my life. And the way he was a great social entrepreneur, he took a Christian narrative of brotherly love and made it part of what society needed to do and change the way the game was played. He was brilliant in that, and the alliances he built. And he said, when he said that for those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war, that's our job. And we could do a lot better, and we're doing better. And this crazy pandemic has brought us we had to physically distance so we can get socially and spiritually connected. And that's what this convergence about, and that's what Unity Earth is about, and that's what the work that you're doing, Scott, is about. It's ours to do, and we're doing it, and we're sorting it out. And it's a privilege and honor to serve. And this convergence that's happening is in the next generation of Zoom events. And I just honor you, Scott, because the challenge of the technology, right, of all this stuff, and we're all going through it. But we got to keep moving forward, right? That's what he was saying. You got to crawl if you got to crawl. I mean, this is painful at times. But another thing Dr. King says, we must build the dikes of courage to hold back the flood of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The dikes of courage. This is such a space of courage. We've been willing to confront this conversation. The death of George Floyd, his murder, has transformed the conversation about race. And you know what Dr. King also did that's so important and near and dear to my heart, is he made it clear that America, this nation, was born in a genocide. He was the voice that spoke out for the Native Americans. Phil Lane always points to that every year. That's why MLK is so important to us, because the principles that he spoke to are timeless, and they truly belong to all of us. So the Compassion Games started with the idea that through love and kindness, we can make a difference. And we're blessed with this grant. We've been able to give out to support work happening all over the country through AmeriCorps. But you know, I know this, I hate to say it, but I know it's true, is that being kind and loving is just not enough. We've got to really change. Behavior change at scale. And it starts with the way we treat ourselves and how we treat each other. Look, I mean, the life, I know Pato and Antoinette pretty well. We've been all over the world together. And what it takes to give.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's true for everybody here.
Amen.
You know? So that's selfless service. What did he say? Anybody can be great because anybody could serve.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know when these fruit will be born, but I know that this is the right tree, that we are working on the right thing. So come be a part of the convergence. Pato and Antoinette were there today. Ben will be there tomorrow. Hopefully, Deborah, you'll join as well. We've been learning the indigenous concept of a magic canoe, a vessel to move between worlds. That's where I see that we're at. We're somewhere between no longer and not yet. And these tales that we're telling of synergy, that's the story of our time, is how we're actually figuring out, how do we turn what we have into what we need? How do we mobilize? So I know Zoom is a pain in the butt at times, but this next generation platform is really interesting because now the convergence has a lobby. And people can start to connect to each other. And you could go there and build an itinerary. And it's that kind of discovery of each other and commitments to do the work together that is what I'm counting on. So he also said, you know, we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. So Patricia Ann Davis, Indigenous teacher, is calling for the Reverend Revolution, the planetary cosmic reframe, the cosmic planetary reframe. And that reframe includes all of us. There's no one outside. So come be a part of this. Come make your voice heard. Thanks so much, Scott, for including all the work that we're doing. And so many of the members of the SINE network, together we're turning what we have into what we need. We're demonstrating that by caring and sharing, we can really make a difference. That's what happens. That wave, Nina, is we have like over 300 Facebook pages that are connected. They're saying, okay, you could share what other members are doing on my page. So we can all benefit by reaching more people. It just takes trust, just takes a little bit of love and a little bit of courage. And we found a new way.
John, thank you so much. And I'm actually going to go to show people, I just put into the chat box the link. And this is the incredible convergence and so many things that are happening, so many events. And you've still got quite a few that are happening. Now, this is how people can register.
Right, click on the register button. Click on that register button.
Okey-doke, right here. Click
Yeah.
on
Now
register.
this is Zoom events. This is a new platform. So look what's going on here. If you can expand to learn more where it says show more, but don't click register. Scroll down. Scroll down.
Okay.
And look there. So you see sessions and speakers and sponsors. So leave it there for a second. Hold it up. So this was a featured session, right? So if you go up a little bit higher, you see sessions, you can click on speakers, right? And you can see then all the sessions that now those are featured speakers, but go down below. If you click on anyone, you can see. Now, if you go back up, I mean, this is a nice way, because if you then register, you go into a lobby where you can go to each of these sessions and bookmark them and build your own itinerary. We're going to make it easier for us to convene like this. These are so many people that we all know here.
Absolutely. Connie and Andrew are on the show watching us right now. And who's this beautiful one? What happens when we click there? Hey,
well.
there we go.
Yes.
So,
Very much.
yeah, no, you've done a beautiful
I am
job.
the luckiest man in the world.
There's so many wonderful sessions, and I do want to make sure people know about the sessions that are still happening tomorrow. Obviously, tonight is kind of the last one for the evening, but then tomorrow you've got Peace and Community. We've got, of course, my show, the Sacred Sunday Show, Global Drums Gathering to Raise the Vibration. That's going to
Over
be
300 drummers around the world will be drums going in honor of Dr. King.
Wow. Wow. And then, of course, our good friend Ben Bowler's got something, the Unity Earth Symposium. And Dr. Marty is leading her Tales of Synergy program.
Yep.
And Fumi, we love Fumi. And talk about prayers for peace. Fumi has helped get peace poles all over the world. I have a peace pole in my front yard,
Yep.
when you pull into my
What a
driveway. there's a
family.
peace pole.
What a family we have. Oh my God. Just celebrate everybody here.
Absolutely. And then it continues on Monday, his actual birthday, January 17th.
And that's the day of service. Actually, his birthday is on the 15th. Today we had the birthday celebration. The 17th is the day
It's
of
the
service.
day of service. Right. And I always
Scott,
love
can you hear me? Someone's asking, is that PT time?
this.
Okay. Okay, that's one of the good things about Zoom events, but one of the crazy things, it shows it to you in your time zone. So because Scott is on the Pacific Coast time, it's showing it. But if you signed in and registered and got a ticket, all the times would be in your time zone.
Right.
Yeah, it is different. This is some unlearning for us to do.
But what you were all looking at, everybody, was Pacific time. So then just add 3 hours or whatever.
Thank you for asking and clarifying.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Brenda. So everybody, there's still time to register, participate. And John, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. What a privilege and honor to serve. This makes my life meaningful. I wouldn't do anything else with it. Thank you so for this.
Thank you, John. All right. Well, we're kind of with the home stretch. A couple things. We're going to hear all about Pato and Antoinette's new courses. We're going to hear about that. We also are going to hear from Reverend Michael Beckwith. But I also wanted to take a moment and introduce Sharif Abdullah. He is also, like Dr. Brenda, Pato, Antoinette, Dr. Marty Casey. He's one I really have tremendous respect for. He's an important teacher and leader in our community, and he travels all over the world. He's been to 85 countries. He's out of the country right now, so he pre-recorded. We had him on a little bit earlier in the early show, and I want to share a little bit more of what he has to say. And this is when I asked him the question of, well, if Martin Luther King were around today, what would he have to say? So here is Sharif Abdullah. Thank you, Sharif, for being with us on Martin Luther King weekend. And my first question for you is, if he came back into this world today and was being shown the state of affairs, the state of our world, in what areas, if any, do you think he'd be encouraged? And in what areas do you think he would be discouraged?
Well, it's an interesting question, and it's a fairly complex one, because what we have to do is not assume that he was with us for the entire, decades that he's not been with us. And to recognize how profoundly that world has changed. You know, his struggle was to get Black people in a position, well, all people, I should say, in a position where we could actually participate in democracy. So America started practicing democracy in 1964. Everything that happened before that was something else, the American apartheid system. And in that time, you look at the number of Blacks in Congress, Blacks in the Senate. You look at we had an African American president, and I think that he wouldn't be surprised by that. I think that he would be shocked by that. Okay, and that shock would reverberate throughout throughout his life. I think so. That's all on the good side, and I think that it's important for us to. I think your question's important. I think that it's important for us to recognize that things have changed and have changed for the positive. I think that we should pat ourselves on the back that that there was a shift in how we perceive ourselves and a shift in our consciousness. On the other side, I think that he would be dismayed, as I am dismayed, at the condition of the Black community, or I should say Black communities, of which there are several and many, and not always in sync with each other. That in a profound way, African Americans are still not participating in this society. Now, the question is, why is that? Part of that is a lot of that King and the civil rights movement removed a lot of the blocks that kept people from full participation. But some of those blocks still remain. But I think even more than that, that there are Black people and white people and everybody else in the society who are not participating in the society because we've created a society where human beings don't participate in it. We get to be consumers. We get to sit around and watch television. We get to consume whatever the drugs are that are being pushed at us, legal, illegal, illicit, etc. The drug of television. And we're not in alignment with a vision of our own lives, our own destiny, our own, like, where are we going as a society? And where am I going as an individual? And I think that we have to start asking and answering those questions. And I think that if King were here now, he would be addressing those kinds of issues. We'd all be looking at, where are we as a society? And instead of trying to focus all of our attention on that person over there, they need to change. They need anti-racism workshops. They need such and such. To recognize how much of our future is in our own hands, and to recognize how we are going to grasp that future, whether we're going to grasp the future, whether we're just going to be complacent and just say, well, things are going on this way and they've been going on this way. I'm going to get my little piece of it, and then, what happens in the next 10 years or 20 years or 100 years, if global climate change means the whole earth burns up, then so what? Well, I think that we have to say more than so what. I think that King would be encouraging us to do that. I know that regardless of whether he would or not, I'm encouraging us to do that. And we have to start the process of looking in that direction.
Beautiful. Thank you. So that's Sharif Abdullah, and I'm certainly curious to see if Dr. Brenda or Pato or Antoinette have any thoughts about that. But before I go to them, I just want to encourage people to check out Sharif's upcoming course, Practicing the 12 Steps of Inclusivity. And you can get more information on it by going to his website. And his website is commonway.org. Commonway.org. And it's all about bridging the gap between the inner work and creating a world that works for us all. I actually had him on one of our shows where we were talking about climate change and the environment. And a big part of his message is that we have to change our consciousness. And that's what this show is all about. You know, the show is about the awakening world, about each and every one of us becoming more awake about our relationship to ourselves, our relationship to each other, our relationship to our planet, our relationship to people of different color, our relationship to people who we perceive are different because of a cultural or racial or geographic something, learning how to really manage that so that we are really, truly waking up into the oneness that all of the great teachers basically have the same message. Martin Luther King, Gandhi, it's a message of compassion, compassionate understanding for ourselves, for each other, for our planet. So we become stewards of this world, stewards of this planet, stewards of our brothers and sisters, as you've seen tonight. So I'm going to open it up if Dr. Brenda or Pato and Antoinette have anything that they want to share after seeing what Brother Sharif just had to say.
Well, I have a quick response, and I know both Pato and Antoinette have deep and wise and meaningful responses, so I'll be very fast. You know, I want to say that the name of the show, Scott, the new name, The Awakening World, is so perfect because that's what we're working to do. This is soul work that we're doing right now. The music that Pato and Antoinette bring, what Reverend Deborah had to say, what everyone brought forward, we're here to awaken. And I just don't know that many places where people from every background, you put together every single show, a group of people that represent the world. So we're here to awaken. And from where I sit, the awakening happens with the heart. I talked earlier about those 12 powers of the heart. That's a core tool that I teach in all of our trainings. And it's about coming home to love, wisdom, and truth, gratefulness, poise, balance, self-control, forgiveness. These are core powers that are built into us because there is only one race. There's the human race. Hu means light, man means being. We are all light beings having a human experience. And what makes us light beings is when we can light up our hearts and connect to that power of the heart. So I want to thank you, Scott, thank incredible Pato and Antoinette, Reverend Deborah, the beautiful artists who sung, Dr. Marty, who's gone. There is so much wisdom and truth that you've brought together. This is extraordinary, and I'm grateful to be part of it.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Brenda. It's wonderful to have you with us. Thank you very much. And we do have a lot left. We're still going to hear more Pato and Antoinette.
Good.
Pato and Antoinette, you had mentioned the Brothers and Sisters video. I've since found it and I've embedded it into my computer. So I'm about to play that. But I'd love for you to introduce either if you want to share anything about what you just saw, or if you want to introduce what we're about to see with Brothers and Sisters.
I'd like to share what I just heard and saw, and then I'll let Antoinette do the introduction to Brothers and Sisters and share anything she wants to share. There's again, going back to the Urantia book, which I was reading recently, there's a part where Jesus is talking to the apostles, and he's telling them just before he leaves the planet, He says, during the time of persecution, the kingdom of heaven will prosper. But in the future, when mankind nominally embraces the idea of the kingdom, you will stand in great danger of being too relaxed. And I think that also applies to what we're seeing in a lot of places today. The pressure that was here when Martin Luther King was alive and Malcolm X, the pressure that was there, the level of suffering, the level of injustice is not quite the same now, because they've helped to alleviate certain avenues of that pressure. We've still got a long way to go, but it's not as bad as it was then. We now have a lot more distractions. You know, during those days, we had maybe one TV channel for those who had a TV.
Mhm.
Now there's like 500, 1,000 more TV channels. We've got so many social media. We've got TikTok, you know. You know, people are so distracted. And then what the brother said, we've got consumerism. You know, people spend so much time on Amazon. You know, we've got so many distractions that the level of pressure and the level of focus has become diminished. There's also another thing that I experienced when I was in England, and we became so accustomed to police brutality that we accepted it.
Mhm.
We became numb.
Mhm.
And we stand in grave danger of becoming numb to the subtleties
Mhm.
of injustice that exist in our society today. And, you know, I think it was Dr. Brenda and Dr. Marty who talked about the fire.
Mhm.
We have to have that fire.
Mhm.
You know, we have to have that sense of urgency, which I said earlier, you know, that there is a dream, you know, and the dream has not been achieved. So instead of allowing it to continue to just be a dream, you know, let's bring it to fruition. Let's get focused and bring certain aspects into reality. And there are so many evolutionary leaders, so many spiritual leaders, so many social activists, so many teachers, so many great thinkers that it can happen, but we have to keep plowing along. So yes, I totally embrace what my brother was saying in that clip you shared, and it was very, very relevant that we do not allow the distractions to deter us from the goal ahead.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. That's so true.
Preach.
Learning to discern, you know, discernment is so important, and it's such a big part of awakening. Where do we put our time and attention? And listen, I'm guilty. When I wake up in the my morning starts with my dog. When it gets light out, one of my two dogs gives me a little nibble and little licks, and it's like, oh, come on, Dad, it's another day. That's how my day starts, right? You know, think about my dreams or whatever. But I reach for the phone. I reach for the phone to see what's the text message, or you know, and I have to like stop myself not to do that. You know,
Yeah.
and it is. It's like you know, we are so attached, and I'm very attached to my devices. I mean, about an hour and a half ago, when my device wasn't working, I was like, ah, right. So finding that balance of really making sure that we are constantly going within and doing our spiritual work, whatever that might be, and reflecting on our lives and spending time in nature and spending time as best as we can with each other. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Beloved Antoinette, tell us what you
Right.
want to share.
All
And
right.
before she
Wonderful.
speaks, can I remind everyone, if you haven't already gone to Antoinette's Healing Fund, that it's in the chat. Take a look there, and you can still go and make a contribution. Very important to support Antoinette, you've given so much to all of us. Antoinette, it's our turn to give to you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Brenda, for that reminder. And since you brought it up, I'll pull it up. So there we go. Thank you so much. And thank you so much. And really appreciating you for bringing us that back up. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So you know how you said you have like a morning routine. So I have like this morning routine protocol. So I have like all these different protocols, and it's like the more that I'm learning and studying about my cancer, I realize, there's certain like breathing protocols and coconut oil protocols and there's protocols and lemon water protocols and detox, different protocols and stuff. But my morning device protocol is TikTok reels for my funnies. I'm telling you, I was laughing so hard this morning, right, Pato? I was laughing so hard. There was tears coming down. I was like, oh my God. I'm telling you, if you do not go through like reels on Facebook or TikTok, because that's how I pass my time. It's like, if you want to get into a good mood, just start scrolling and start flipping through there and then save them for later. Some of them is so hilarious. And I got to sit there and tell you, Black people run TikTok and reels because I've seen the most creative, it's just creative. They're funny, they're inspirational and whatever. And then I go back.
You have a lot of people saying to you in the chat, Eleanor and a couple of other people saying laughter's the best medicine.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah, that's what I read. And so I said, so that I make that as part of my protocol to make sure that I laugh every morning and I get that belly laugh and then I feel good. Then I start to go to my workout and then, and I just look forward for the day. And my day it's like, if I'm going to have a good day, my good day starts by my protocol and by how my laughter is, versus if I went straight to the news feed and saw the negative news and it's like, damn, just go back down, man. So it's like, it's balance. Everything is
absolutely
balance.
No, and it's true. There is some really amazing stuff on TikTok. It is incredible how creative some of the people are.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of garbage, but there's some
garbage.
really funny.
Don't worry, I have a lot of time on my hands right now, so I will filter through them and I'll be posting.
Well, now that I know, when I find an especially funny TikTok, can I send it to you?
Send it to me. Just tag me in it.
There's one I'll send you later today. It was this woman.
I probably know it already.
And she's doing it like a news announcer, and she's doing a news announcement like it's a real program about the trauma of taking her 2-year-old to Olive Garden. And it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. All right, tell us about Brothers and Sisters, which we're about.
All right, so Brothers and Sisters, and then the other thing that I left out about Brothers and Sisters, the other thing that we did do was Pato officiated a wedding. So he officiated a wedding, and then he celebrated 85th birthday. We shot the video, and then we did a peace march, and then we did a concert all in one day. It was like we started like somewhere around Paso Robles, I think, when we started around there, and then worked our way down to Venice.
All
all
of that is captured in the video.
Yeah, the whole day is all there, but we even have more footage of that because we didn't have the wedding in the video. But anyway, but the whole inspiration and the people that you see in the video, this is based off of, like I said, the teachings of Christ, the teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King, the things that how he used to make political and social commentary, but also in a spiritual, in a positive way, in such a positive way that who can actually deny and who could actually fight against this beautiful song that we are all God's children, brothers and sisters. So it's our new song. Instead of We Shall Overcome, this is the 22 version, is that we are all brothers and sisters, and we can all sing together on this one.
Fantastic.
So enjoy it. So yeah. So this spiritual family, and God works in mysterious ways and moves mountains. Last year in the pandemic, like you said, we were sitting here, not working during the COVID pandemic, just continuing on with our ministry and our courses and our classes and the people who are in the video and stuff. And our dream of Adentia was being able to be achieved this year. from those people within our family. You know, this is our ministry. Our ministry doesn't have to be a physical building. Our ministry is actually something that is within the hearts and the soul and the minds of the people, and connecting the families and connecting all relations, you know, like Chief Phil, it's like all my relations. We didn't sit there and say only us Christians, you know, or only us here or only us there. We have atheists within our ministry group. You know, it's like we didn't tell them anything. They just like what we do and they followed us. And then we come together, and this is how we build beloved community.
Fantastic. Oh, God love you, and here we go.
All right.
Now this one goes out to Andan and Fanta, the original ancestor, the progenitors of all humanity, the great, great, great grandparents of every human being. This one goes out to the Midway family, the Celestial family, the Unseen family. We say one God, one aim, and one destiny. Walk around happily. Well, you can choose your friends, but you can't choose family. Still, the real question is, who is my relative? Who is my neighbor? Am I my brother's keeper? So I decided to look a little deeper, yo. And let history be my true teacher, yo. I'm not coming to you as no preacher, no. Just your brother, friend, and a truth seeker. We are all, we are all, we are all brothers and sisters. We are all, we are all, we are all brothers and sisters. Well, you see, life is a rocky road, but we got to walk it. The truth must be told, and we got to talk it. Yes, the truth has got to be restated, that everybody on this planet is related. Take a look at your planetary history, your heredity and your ancestry, genealogy and human biology. Obviously, we are one family, so argument should never get heated, no. But when we fight, everyone is defeated, yo. Treat me the way you want to be treated, no. And a step towards peace is completed. We are all, we are all, we are all brothers and sisters. We are all, we are all, we are all brothers and sisters. Regardless of your race or nationality, we are family, yes, we are family. Regardless of your creed or sexuality, we are family, yes, we are family. Deserving of justice and equality, we are family, yes, we are family. Politics and religion may divide us, but the spirit of truth will unite us. We are all, we are all, we are all brothers and sisters.
I know you guys can
better than that. One more time. Thank you, Randy. We are. Thank you, Sonora Beats. Thank you. So how you feeling?
Pato and Antoinette, you two give really good video. You really do.
He's like one of them Jamaicans that had 10 jobs. You know, the man had 10 jobs because the first video we used to have this guy is like, it's so expensive to shoot a video. And he was like, you know something, I'm just going to make my own video. So he goes onto YouTube and we just go and get some cameras from Best Buy. And then we decided we're going to become filmmakers.
I love it.
Your videos, I love your videos. And there's been times I've been on the phone with you, Antoinette, or you've even been on one of my shows, and he's in the background making his videos, right? I know.
Yeah.
Remember the comic who did the skit about being Jamaican? And he said, I work all day, I work all night, I have 7 jobs. His daughter came home with a guy. She said, Dad, I'm in love with him. He said, boy, how many jobs you got? She said, oh, Daddy, he's a doctor. He said, that's only one job.
I might
Hey,
have
while we have Dr. Brenda here, I know that she's got to get going, and we're kind of wrapping up, but we're still going to hear about Pato and Antoinette's new courses. We're going to do our Global Peace Tribe announcements, and then I'm going to close with Reverend Michael Beckwith, who we referenced a few times today. But Dr. Brenda, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, and all your contributions, and it's just really you are a wonderful, beloved member of our family. And I just want to let people know that right now the best way to reach her actually is on her Facebook page. Just most of you are on Facebook. And just go to Dr. Brenda Wade, and that's how you can contact her. Because I know you're building your new webpage. So
we are in the middle of a new webpage, but I do want everyone to know that the second Thursday of every month, I do a free live Zoom seminar, and you're all invited. It's my gift. There's no charge for that. And we have spectacular guests like Chief Philip Scott, and we have Marianne Woodward, who's going to do a special offering next month with us, talking about relationships. And of course, my beat is healthy relationships, relationship with yourself, first and foremost, but understanding that being able to relate to self opens our hearts to relate to everyone else. It's the key. And all of that is about us unleashing this power, this capacity that's built into us to give and receive love. So my mission is to awaken 1 billion people to the love of the divine in their own hearts. So help me out with that, would you?
absolutely.
Oh, last thing, this is Tiger Year. This is Tiger Year. It means your wildest dreams can come true this year. So let's activate that.
Oh, all right. Dr. Brenda, thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, Pato and Antoinette, I love you guys. Scott, you know I love you. It is such an honor, such a pleasure to be with you. So bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Much love. Much
Many
love.
blessings. Bye-bye.
Much love.
Yep.
Beautiful. I want to say, hey, there he is. Perfect timing. I want to thank Jay and Jan for the wonderful work they do in creating the videos. There they are. They're going to be doing a really fun show next weekend. In fact, perfect timing. Let me go ahead and we'll play the video and see what they're going to be up to next weekend. I haven't even seen this yet because it's hot off the press. So here is a little bit of a tease for what they're going to be doing next weekend.
Do you really know how the wind will blow? Are you ready to flow? The after show. Do you wanna know? Do you wanna know how it's gonna go? How it's gonna go? We got seeds to sow. Seeds to sow. The after show. The after show. Do you know that it's gonna grow? Get ready to flow. The after show. The after show. The after show. The after show. The after, after, after.
Fantastic. So that's going to be next weekend's after show. And it's going to be really, really a fun one. You guys do a great job. So really looking forward to that. And thank you again for the wisdom jewels and for all that you do. Thank you so much. So, talking about next week, again, it's going to be the Twin Ray joining us. And that's always really, really special. And my co-host is Eden Amadora. And I want to take a minute to just introduce you a little bit to Eden because she is very, very special. You've seen her on Saturday Night Live and you've seen her on my Sacred Sunday show. Now, here's a really fun thing. If you guys go to her website, EdenAmador.com, and just scroll right down, take the quiz to discover what beloved archetype are you. You know how there's all these wonderful quizzes people can take. Well, hers is what is the archetype you relate to when it comes to divine love and romance. And so it's a really appropriate kind of thing to take because next week it's all about divine love, the power of divine love. So we're going to have the Twin Ray, Shekinah, and Sananda joining us. We're going to have Reverend Deb Moldau, as you saw. And we're going to be really exploring how divine love shows up in our lives from a wide variety of spiritual disciplines and the miracles that it leads to. That when we connect to divinity, when we connect to divine love, that's when the miracles happen. And how perfect that Jay and Jan are going to be doing a Light Touch after show, because Light Touch is all about miracles. It's all about blessings. It's all about how to bring that into our life. So definitely please join us. And of course, all of you who are watching, share it out with your friends. Let people know about the Awakening World. Let them know about our shows. And again, a reminder that every show that we do a Friday night show, we do a Saturday night show, and then we do a Sunday morning show. So please, please, please let everybody know about what we're doing, because that's how we grow. That's how we grow what we're doing. And it's a powerful time, and we need you to let the word out. So I'm going to go one last time. Here's the poster. Friday night, 7:30 Pacific time. Saturday night, as always. We start at 6 o'clock in terms of the main show, but all of you that come on into the Zoom room, you're part of our early show, and that's where we always have something special. And today's early show was amazing. And then, of course, the Sunday morning show, my Sacred Sunday show. So please do join us. All right. Well, one last thing that I want to share is two of our absolute favorite performers, presenters, are, of course, Cornflower and his wonderful friend, who is also one of my favorite co-hosts, Kristen Hoffman. And they are coming together again. You know, they met through Saturday Night Live. They didn't know each other before. They met through us, and they now do, once every 3 months, they do a show together, a special event. And so on Valentine's Day, February 14th, they are going to do a universal love concert celebrating all expressions of love, the Universal Love Concert. So we'll put into the Zoom room how you can register for that. But let's face it, Valentine's Day itself, February 14th, it can be a painful day if you're single, like me, I'm single, or if your beloved has passed away, which is my case. My wife died a few years ago. And, you know, everybody, the couples are all out celebrating, and Hallmark Hall of Fame is selling all their cards. But for those of us who either are single or we're in a more of a divinity-formed relationship, kind of like Pato and Antoinette, where they are spiritual partners doing great spiritual work together, then spending Valentine's Day coming together in community is a powerful thing to do. And so that's why we decided that it would be great for the Global Peace Tribe to have a special event on February 14th. And so we chose two of our absolute favorite musicians to come together and to do this together. So please do join us. And, oh, here it is. I was looking for the right link. I'll put it in the chat box, but here is the link. Tells you all about it, and you can register. It's only $22, and it's going to be an amazing interactive concert. So join us. You can register at sonicsourceactivation.com. sonicsourceactivation.com. And then the very last thing that I want to let everybody know about is Christy Michaels is putting together a special event honoring the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. And, you know, earlier tonight we were talking about how, you know, so many of the leaders that we've referenced tonight, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Jesus the Christ, but they all are of the male gender. And that's why I try and put a lot of powerful women onto this show, a lot of people of color onto this show. And I'm actually hosting this along with Christy Michael. It's going to be on January 31st, which is actually the day that people that honor Mary Magdalene celebrate the rise of the divine feminine. And January 31st is traditionally, just as December 25th is when we celebrate the birth of Jesus, January 31st is when we celebrate the birth more of the divine feminine as represented by Mary Magdalene. And I think it's important for us to honor Mary Magdalene. I've always had the fantasy, I'd be curious to see what Pato and Antoinette have to say about this in a moment. I always fantasized about, instead of belonging to a church, I was raised in the Christian tradition. And instead of walking into a church where there was a guy hanging on a cross with the blood coming down, who's been tortured and crucified for my sins. I remember being a little boy trying to figure out, what did I do wrong that this beautiful man had to die for me, right? What if we all grew up in a church where it was Jesus and Mary Magdalene and Yab Yum, the divine feminine, the divine masculine, in love, the way that Pato and Antoinette represent for us. So join us on January 31st as we honor the divine feminine. And we don't have Jesus and Mary Magdalene with us. We have something even better. We've got Pato and Antoinette. So there they are. And thank you, Pato and Antoinette, for being with us all throughout this whole show.
Of course, of course. And first, I want to say before we get started on that, that is going to be an amazing show, that Valentine's, because I know what it's like. I've done a lot of work with Kristen before, and me and her can do these interweaving kind of jams and feelings and whatever. She's an incredible artist. I know Cornflower, he's an incredible artist as well too. So that's going to be a very magical experience. And anytime when you kind of do any type of that kind of live weaving, those types of experiences are once in a lifetime. They can't be recreated the exact same way, duplicated ever again like that, because it's that type of creative thing. So I encourage everybody to make that episode February 14th. Yeah. And then regarding the divine feminine, I'm so glad you asked that too.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That was the one thing. Well, it wasn't the one thing. It was many things, that led me onto this journey of studying the Urantia book and with Pato and us starting our spiritual family and everything. It was because of those things that from the Bible and the fundamentalist ways of Christianity, I found very offensive to me, and it didn't sit right with me. And some of the things, and then when you're Black and in the South, especially in Birmingham, it's Pentecost, it's Baptist, it's all these different types of denominations of churches, and the way that they were preached of the hellfire and he died for your sins and threatening, but the music was amazing, but it was just, it was fantastic, but it was just like that kind of struggle of something that felt very uncomfortable but felt very beautiful at the same time. So it's kind of conflicting for me to sit there and say, well, what is really the truth? And then the stuff about like the reason why I do the whole interfaith stuff with like Deborah and Unity Earth and everything else is because my mother is Taiwanese, and when the one side would sit there and say, well, she hasn't accepted the blood of Christ, so she's not going to go into heaven. I'm like, well, why would she know about Jesus all the way out there? They kind of into Buddha and stuff, that's her thing, and I just can't imagine that they would separate my parents in the afterlife. And then the more things that I didn't sit right with, and especially, that a woman came from a man's rib, I couldn't get down with that. I couldn't get down with a lot of things. I didn't think it was the male domination thing, so learning about the Mary Magdalene, about the Gospels of Mary, learning about the feminine divine. I was like, wait a minute. I decided to come up with my own religion. And I was like, all right, fine. Everybody can keep their own. And then I have Antoinette's religion. We are not the only people in the universe. There's several universes. It's like we're all God's children. There's definitely some woman power up in there, all these different things. And I said that was it until I found the Urantia book. And then I discovered, I was like, oh my God, I was not that clever, but all these things that I had wished for myself was already there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to read we haven't had a chance to read many of the comments from our viewers, and I want to read one thing from Ayada. She writes, I've never heard of a day to honor Mary Magdalene, and I'm so glad to know about this. That's one of the things I love about the Awakening World and Global Peace Tribe, always learning, always being inspired. And again, this is the link. I see that Christy's been putting it in our chat box, and this is where people can get all the information about the birth and the rise of the Divine Feminine. It's going to be a powerful event. I'm hosting it. It's a Global Peace Tribe event, so please do join us. And it is really important Last thing is, if people, read the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, read the Gospel of Thomas. These are the books that when in 321 AD, when they basically rewrote the Bible and chose which books of the Bible would go into the Bible that we know.
One guy. It was one guy that did that.
And during King Constantine's time, he was a Roman who was a converted Christian, and it was a total male-dominated society. And not only did they not put Mary Magdalene in, they cut out all references and turned her into a whore, right? Jesus's divine consort, his equal, right? Just as Pato and Antoinette are equals, and they made her a whore. It's important. Part of our awakening is to bring back those things. That's part of the equality that I want to see take place. So anyway, as you can tell, I'm passionate about that.
And so Pato, you want to go first?
What's the question? What's the question?
Of traditional Christianity, of the I was explaining that what brought us to the Urantia book.
I don't really want to address anything in Christianity. I want to just honor, people's beliefs. But for me, I want to share my own personal viewpoint. That one of the things I think is most important, even more important than my views or my opinions, is that we remind everybody and educate everybody that we're all children of God. We're all God's children. Whatever name you want to give God, whatever your ideal of God is, if we view God as being the ultimate universal being, and we are all a part of God's creation, and we make God personal, I think it's important that we share this good news that everyone is a child of God. Because once we recognize that we are all a child of this beautiful divine spirit, which is neither male nor female, we give God a male attribute or we give God a female attribute, but God is so beyond sex. Spirit is beyond sex. But as human beings with sex organs, we need to identify with sex. So that's okay. But we are all children of this beautiful divine spirit. When every human being, when all of us recognize our divine relationship to divinity, then we recognize that every other human being has that same divine relationship to divinity. And that's what makes us spiritual family, relatives. We may not be material family, even though we all came from the same origins on this planet, but we're not going to go into a history lesson. But looking forward, we are all spiritual beings of the same spiritual parents, having a spiritual journey as material beings. But we shouldn't get too connected to this material shadow of reality that we think is real. We should really embrace our divinity, embrace our spirituality, and all of the dogma, all of the discrepancies will fall away. Just like when we went to Israel a couple of years ago, 100 spiritual leaders from different spiritual backgrounds. We never had one discussion about religion, not even one. But we did have discussions about spirituality. We did have discussions about the human condition. How can we improve the human condition? What can we do as individuals and as a family to make the world a better place? How can we become more loving? These are the things to me that are more important than anything else, because discussing religion can divide us, but when we discuss spirituality, when we discuss unity, when we discuss compassion, that brings us together. That gives us a purpose that we can unite for, regardless of what our philosophical viewpoints are.
Mm-hmm.
And regarding the feminine divine, you know, I've always known that, you know, women and men are equal.
Yeah.
You know, I've always, I couldn't join any theological belief system that made a woman be less than a man. You know, and in my journey as a man, I've gained some wisdom that women actually have a higher responsibility than men, because women have to bring into existence the next generation. They have to bring in the children, the next generation of children of God. They are the maternal instinct. They are the mother of the children, the mother of their husbands, you know. And there is the mother spirit, or in Christianity they call her the Shekinah spirit, and she's recognized in many different beliefs by different names, but you can call her the Holy Spirit. You know, in the Urantia book they call her the mother spirit, and she's and they say that she is our local universe mother spirit, and that she is responsible for Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, and that her responsibility covers the earth. She can feel every single living, breathing being, down to the smallest insect. She can feel when they are born and when they are die, and when they die. She feels our thoughts. When our thoughts are of divine attributes, she lifts us up. So it's time for us to elevate our sisters, to give them their fair and equal share in every avenue of life, to honor them and respect them. And as time goes on, the mother spirit, the feminine divine, will play a bigger and bigger role, and we will become educated, just like we become educated in certain aspects of the invisible world, which we become aware of. Increasingly now, ever since the Mayan calendar reached to its epoch, which told us it was time for women to rule. It was time for women not to rule, to lead. It was time for a change from the masculine energy.
Yes.
Not the end of the world, but the end of the old world. It's
Yes.
time for a new beginning, for us to elevate women, and the feminine divine is just another way of saying this energy of our sisterhood needs to be elevated and loved and respected.
Oh, let's just all take a moment to breathe that in, because that was such an important message you just delivered with such eloquence and such sincerity. Maximum grace for the divine reunification of the masculine and the feminine within ourselves and within our genders. You see that Connie Baxter Marlowe just wrote, "Yes, Pato. It is the balance of masculine and feminine. And you are an embodiment of balanced connection to the divinity in all of us." And I agree, Connie. Yes. All right, we're almost done, but I want to hear about the courses you're going to be teaching. Tell us about that.
All right. You want to?
Well, I'll start. Well,
All right, you start and I'll finish.
So these courses, so like what I was saying, what happened was like once I found the Urantia book and I started reading and studying with Pato, and this was like many years, this was back in 2009, I guess 2009 or something like that. 2010. No, it was 2009. Yeah. Anyway, by the time I started reading and studying this stuff, the only person who was actually really studying it was me, Pato, myself and Pato, and then a couple guys in the band, you know, and then
as we were touring.
And then I had so many questions because the book was so thick, and I felt like I wasn't intelligent anymore because it was so wordy. You know, I was like, what's with all the big words and all this mumbo jumbo and, you know, the cosmic universe kind of stuff and everything. I felt it was like, it was kind of like over my head. So I decided to give it back to him. I said, I cannot handle this book. And, you know, go ahead and just take it back. And then he said, well, just go through the table of contents until you find something that interests you. And then start reading from there, you know, what resonates in your heart. Once I started reading from there, and I was like, what do they have to say about Adam and Eve? And then I was like, because I don't agree. I was like, I'm one of those people who suffered sometimes from religion with like how hard it was, you know, and it's like to come out of that. So there were so many people out there who was just like me, which they consider like the agnostics. It's like, I learned about God, I know about God, but it's like, but that's all I want to know without going completely, I don't want to know anything about God or I hate God. It's like, you know, so you're just kind of in between. And you'd be surprised how many people out there on the planet, when you're starting to talk to them, are in that kind of phasing of in between of connecting and finding their spirituality and finding the things that actually resonate with you. So this thing that Pato was just sitting there talking about, I call it the Pato breakdown. I said, Pato, we have got to do this study because I know the questions that I had, somebody else has got to have the same questions. Maybe you can give a breakdown of what it was. It's like, Pato, break it down for us. And I was like, that's how we started to do the studies. And then it just started to grow. So it's been over 10 years that we've been doing this. And we started with 1, then we started with 2, then we started with younger readers, and then we started with new readers and seasoned readers and different things. And then we just teach all the different things about the divine feminine, about the world's religions, about the universe, about evolution, about the life and teachings of Christ, about a lot about the God fragment within you. And it's like, let's just break it down. And it's very informal. It's not just Pato break it down and he's just a teacher, listen to me, but we all get to participate and we all get to share. Pato?
So currently, before I met Antoinette, before I moved to America, I did have study groups in the UK. When I got together with Antoinette and she embraced the book, we started studying together and then it branched out from there. And she encouraged me to, when Skype just started, she encouraged me to be one of the first Urantians studying using Skype, which I was very reluctant to do. I didn't want to get my lessons involved technologically and have to deal with people and their issues trying to sign on and all kinds of stuff. But, you know, she pressured me into it and it became very successful. Currently, we're hosting 4 study groups per week. And if people want to stay up to date with these groups and the lessons we're teaching, we have a Facebook group called Pato Bantam Spiritual Family, okay? A brief description of each group is that on a Wednesday, we study the more technical side of the Urantia book and answer the difficult questions that people ask. So when Wednesday is more of an advanced class, and that starts from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. PST.
It's like the evolution, the science, the cosmos, is like the gravity controllers,
the Lucifer rebellion, you know, all kinds of stuff about, you know, that are more technical. On a Sunday morning, from 10 to 12 on a Sunday, we study the life and teachings of Jesus, because the Urantia book has every year of Jesus's life. Basically, there's no years missing, and a lot of the sermons that you find in the Bible, in the Urantia book, they're much more in depth, much longer, because I believe, and many people believe, that the Urantia book has been presented by celestial beings who were on the planet while Jesus were here, and they recorded it. So a lot of the things that the apostles did not record in the New Testament, the celestials who were here recorded those things. On a Sunday before our, we also have a children's Sunday school session that we've just started for children between the ages of, can you get the door please, Antoine? For children between the ages of 5 and 12, we have a Sunday school where we don't read, we talk. we talk about God. We talk about peace. We talk about love. We talk about empathy, sympathy, compassion. We talk about things on a very young level to get the kids to think about, more than just material things. We want them to think about true values. And it's not so important for them to have a theological understanding right now, but it is important for them to have values and ethics. So that's the main purpose of the Sunday school, is to give them a knowledge that angels are here, and share certain things with them that they can take to the next level of their growth as they move forward, whether it's with me or in another area. And then on Tuesday evening, we have the fourth group, which is for children from 13 up to 20 or 19, children 13 to 19. And sometimes we read, sometimes we don't read. And we talk, we have fun, we pray. But with all of these groups, because I've studied the world's religions for like 40 years now, I've been studying the world's religions. So I've taken all the best parts, like with the Buddhists, they're the meditators, with the Muslims, they're the prayers. 3 times a day, they pray. The Christians are about worship. Urantians are about study, So I take everything from all of them, and then I share that in a way that the children can take it and move forward with it. But the most important thing with all 4 groups is not the teachings, is not so much the Urantia book. The most important thing for me is spiritual growth, to encourage people to remember that it's very important to maintain your spiritual connection with spirit, whether it's through prayer, through meditation, through going into nature and being in stillness, whatever it is, maintain that connection. Because when you maintain a spiritual connection, you are in touch with guidance, higher guidance and wisdom and peace. The second thing that I encourage is service, that whatever you receive from spirit during your moments of meditation and stillness and prayer, that you don't keep that to yourself, that you take that and you share it with your brothers and sisters in the most loving way you can. And that is the key. As you help people grow, you grow. If your intention is to go out and make 10 people smile, you're going to have a smile on your face. If your intention is to go out and make 10 new friends, you have to be friendly. So as you give, you receive. And for me, that is the most important of these 4 groups, is to just encourage people to stay on track. Because like I say, all religions have a road, and that road leads to the same peak on the mountain. And when we get to the mountain top, nothing else matters except for moving forward as a family spiritually. So whatever path people take, I honor it. Whatever book you read, I honor it. But all of these things to me are like shoes for a child. We outgrow them and we need a new pair. And then when we get to the beach, we don't need no shoes. We just kick them off and go and run in the water.
Oh, thank you.
You're seeing that uniformity.
Beautiful. I have been putting into the different Facebook groups, the different pages where we're playing, join Pato Banton's spiritual family, and that's where I guess most people come in. Is that the best place for people to go to?
Yes, it is.
Let me go ahead and let you in there.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, I've applied. Hopefully, I think can I get in? I'd like to. I hope I can get in.
Everybody gets in.
No, I know. I was
Everybody gets in. All you have to do is send a request and you're in.
Thank you. Well, Pato, Antoinette, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Right.
I love you. And I know that we all will be, there will be a moment where we're all going to be on that mountaintop together. And we're going to look at each other, whether it's a year from now or 1,000 years from now, whatever it is. We know, wow, that was a heck of a climb. And we did it, and we did it together.
Yes.
And I am so grateful that I get to share this world,
Mhm.
share this awakening world with both of you and with all the people that are still watching. God bless everybody who's still with us. I just took a look, and we still got like 30 people on Unify and people all over Facebook still watching. And we still have with us the Wild Abbot, Jerry, is still with us. And
I
we still have
know.
Robin Delaney is still with us. And of course, all of our friends that are in the Zoom room with us. Thank you for being with us. And I'm going to close this out with a recent.
One PSA announcement too, since we do have all the other sponsors who are sharing this out. So for those who don't know that Monday is MLK Day of Service, and that day of service. So that day of service is part of, we have a concert, a festival going on over at the World Beat Center in San Diego. This is a free event for the public and the community. And we have speakers, we have African dancers, we have drummers, we have native and indigenous native drumming, opening ceremonies and concerts, and we're performing. Plus also, this is also a drive for the refugees over at the border, the Haitian refugees. You know, a lot of them didn't actually make it back over, get flown back over to Haiti, and they made it over to Tijuana side of the border side, whatever. So
Wow.
part of World Beat Center and part of these women who are working this coalition of the things that they need. And if anybody who's in the San Diego, just contact me, or if they can drop it off over there at the World Beat Center. But we need blankets and jackets and socks and toiletries and diapers and anything else like that. Or if you want to sit there and just hit me up.
Great, and you're within walking distance. Mark Janisovsky, one of our favorite people, is within walking distance of there, so you'll meet Mark. Hey, I want to remind everybody one last time to please support Antoinette, and I'm going to thank the people. Whoops, I want to thank the people that donated today, because there's a lot of people that donated since last time I read names. Of course, a lot of anonymous people. Thank you, Shauna Jacobs. Thank you, Christina Ray Porter. Thank you, Karen Eisenberg. Thank you, Noel Moore. Thank you, Michael Lippelt. Raina Lombard, thank you. All the anonymous people. Susie Karasik, God bless you. Our wild monk, Jerry Anderson, thank you so much. Deirdre Manning, all the anonymous people. Amanda Sebris, Andrew Bailey, Christy Michaels, Oshalla from last night, Dia from last night, myself, Fumi, Pegasus. Thank you, everybody, for supporting our beloved Antoinette. And we will continue to raise money. Please do join us again tomorrow for my Sacred Sunday show. It's going to be really, really lovely. We're going to have more time with Marty Casey. Didn't she rock our place today when she came on board? So we're going to have Marty Casey and the lovely Nina Gray. And you, because it's a Zoom meeting. So all of you can come on in. So please join us. And again, the Facebook page, we'll pop it in. I see that Suzanne is asking for it, so we'll put it back in there one more time. And I'm going to conclude by playing a video. I interviewed Reverend Michael Beckwith, who was a longtime friend of mine. I first started going to Agape Church when we were meeting in the basement of the Santa Monica Miramar Hotel on metal folding chairs, about 20 of us in a circle. And it's amazing what Michael has built since then. I went to Jamaica with him in the mid-90s. I've interviewed him a dozen times for different television shows and projects that I've done. And I had the good fortune to spend about an hour interviewing him last month in December. And he happened to talk about when he met Martin Luther King. He was a 10-year-old boy, and he met Dr. King. And so this is part of what he shared about spiritual teachers and lineage. So I thought it would be kind of a fun way to close out our evening. So here is our beloved Reverend Michael Beckwith, and let's hear what he has to say. And here we go. Michael, thank you so much. Happy Holy Days. And we would love to know some of your spiritual inspirations, teachers, how they influenced you, and maybe how you apply that to your life.
The first one that comes to my awareness is probably the greatest mystic to come out of America, and that is a man by the name of Walter Russell. And Walter Russell went into a state of cosmic consciousness and wrote the Divine Iliad, all those volumes without any editing from a very expanded state of consciousness. He wrote The Secret of Light. He predicted the elements in the periodical table way before scientists even knew they existed. For me, when I had my spiritual awakening, I didn't have any teachers. I didn't know what was happening to me. And so as I studied him, it was my first foray into the understanding of what mysticism was, the understanding of the universal cosmic laws. And so it deeply imprinted me in a very powerful way. So there was a little small book that introduced me to him. It was called The Man Who Tapped the Secrets of the Universe. It was by Glenn Clark. It was about Walter Russell. And then that led me to reading another small little book called The Man Who Talked with Flowers. And that was about the great mystic known as George Washington Carver. And most people thought that George Washington Carver was a scientist, or that they understood him from his the efficacy of the peanut and things of that. But that didn't even cover who George Washington Carver was. And so that led me to understand that George Washington Carver was a full-blown mystic who would go out at 4 o'clock in the morning and ask Mother Nature and ask the presence of God the usefulness of particular plants or the soil or the earth. And the plants would reveal to him their efficacy and their secrets. And then he would go into his laboratory and prove what he had gleaned through his mystical connection to Mother Nature. Most of the great ministers that were coming out at that particular time, he was their teacher. But they had to meet with him at night because he was a Black man, and it was forbidden for a Black man to teach white men anything. And then the other great teacher was Howard Washington Thurman. He was a great Christian theologian mystic. And he ended up writing this treatise called Jesus and the Disinherited. And he began to teach the teachings of Jesus and how the teachings of Jesus apply to everyone: white, Black, rich, poor, woman, man. And at the end of this treatise, he writes, I'm no longer necessarily a follower of Christianity. I'm a follower of the teachings of Jesus. So he separated himself from Christianity as it was at that time and followed the teachings of Jesus. And because of that, in many circles, he was labeled a heretic and shunned by the Christian religion. And he ended up starting a church in San Francisco called the Church of All People, which was the first integrated Christian church in America. He loved Emerson, he loved Thoreau, he loved, the great mystics of the ages, and still embraced the teachings of Jesus. So he was a great influence of me, because he was able to not only embrace the cosmic awareness of Jesus, but he was able to bring into the darkest moments, into moments in which humanity was walking through, and bring light to there without denying tragedy, without denying loss, without denying death, without denying disease that human beings walk through. He was able to bring into those dark moments this great teaching of this great teacher, Jesus. Sri Aurobindo out of India came into my life. That he was very influential in my thinking and in my articulation. I even went to India. I went to Oroville in India. Sri Aurobindo was a cohort of Gandhi. They were seeking to free themselves from the shackles and the oppression of Great Britain. And when Sri Aurobindo was jailed with Gandhi many times, one of the times in which he was jailed, he went into full-blown cosmic consciousness. And when he came out, he told Gandhi that, he was still with him, but that he was being called into another way of freeing humanity, and that was through spiritual teachings. I met Dr. King. I was a small boy, and he was doing a West Coast fundraising tour for SCLC, Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And my mother took me to Holman's Methodist Church to hear him speak. I was 9 or 10 years old. Wow. So after he spoke, I met him. We shook hands. I remember saying to my mother, wow, he has such soft hands. And she said, well, he does a different kind of work, baby, you know. And then subsequently, when he was assassinated, it impacted me to want to make a difference on the planet. And then his articulation of what agape love was infused my soul with an understanding of unconditional love and the love of God operating in the human heart. Dr. Thurman was a great teacher of Martin Luther King Jr. And Dr. King carried the treatise of Jesus and the Disinherited with him. So Thurman greatly influenced King in terms of the nonviolent movement, the way that Gandhi influenced Thurman. Most people don't know that Gandhi was influenced by Thoreau's writings on civil disobedience influenced Gandhi. Gandhi influences Thurman. Thurman brings it back to Dr. King, you know. I wear Dr. Thurman's robe when I speak at Rankin Hall at Howard University. They allow me to wear his robe when I'm speaking. When I first met Dr. Lawrence Carter, who is a powerful being at Morehouse College, he runs the Martin Luther King Chapel there. When he came to see me speak at Agape, the first thing that Lawrence Carter said was, wow, you're more Thurman-esque than Thurman, because he knew Dr. Thurman. Because of the one, trans-denominational is what we call ourselves. 2, everybody was at Agape, doesn't, you know, race, creed, color, sexual orientation, you know, whatever, it's all there. So I think I picked up on that, but I was also raised that way, you know. My mother's house was a hub of a lot of the civil rights movement as growing up. And we would meet at the house and we would decide which stores we were going to picket in order to bring about justice to people of color and wages and things like that. But in my mother's home, you know, when we would meet, there were white people, black people, Jewish people, straight people, gay people. It was all a part of the gestalt of me growing up. So a lot of things that people had to grow into. I didn't have to grow into that because that was just a part of my upbringing. When I was a freshman in college, and it was a mandatory talk by this man. I didn't know who he was at the time, even though I knew there was a Thurman Hall. We had to go hear Howard Thurman speak. So I'm a freshman, and the title of his talk was something along the lines of the benefits of slavery. So I'm 17 years old, I'm revolutionary, I'm activist minded, and I'm thinking, what, this old guy is talking about the benefits of slavery? What is he going to tell me? So me and my cohorts, we go in there and we sit like in the middle, 3rd, 4th row back. We wanted to be right there and hear what this guy had to say. So after this long introduction about who he was, you know, he begins to speak in a very slow cadence. And he talks about the African mind, this mind that was growing up in Africa near the rivers, very connected to the trees, very connected to the ground, this field of abundance, and then being stolen from their homeland and then placed all around the world. And that this capacity to have a deep sense of compassion, a deep sense of forgiveness, a deep sense of love from a field of abundance, not scarcity, was now spread all around the world for such a time as this. And that perhaps, of course, slavery was not a good thing. Of course, it's not God ordained. But perhaps the benefits of it was that you had these beings that were exiled from Africa all around the world that had this capacity for compassion and this capacity from this deep sense of connection of the earth was now all around the world. Wow. That was once only on this one continent. And we're sitting there like, what? I mean, we were mesmerized by this, you know what I mean? Now, I didn't understand all these concepts. I'm 17 years old. Later, maybe the next year I met him, he wanted to meet all the guys from California that had come in. And I'll share this with you. We had all dropped a tab of acid. We didn't know we were going to meet Howard Thurman that night. We were on our way to get something to eat, and people caught up with us and says, Dr. Thurman wants to meet with you guys. You know, he wants to meet with the guys who have been recruited from the big cities to the South to come to the school, Morehouse College, which Dr. King was an alumni of, which is why I went there. And I said, oh no, I don't want to meet him now. I dropped a tab of acid. I don't want to meet Dr. Thurman like this, but inevitably we got to meet him. And I remember he was down the hall, and I'm, as they say back in those days, you know, I was peaking on the acid. The closer I got to him, the more sober my mind became. And by the time I got in his presence, the clarity, the articulation, I didn't feel I was on acid at all. It was just in a very clear space. And we had a great conversation and told him about my experience at Morehouse. And he was checking in on us and had some great conversation. Shook his hand, he went his way, we went ours. And the further I got away from him, the more the effects of the acid began to take over again. It was amazing. It was like, in his presence, it was nothing. Out of his presence, it was like I could see trails. I remember sitting on the curb that night, watching the trails of cars go by, thinking about that phenomenon. Why did the clarity and the insight, why did that happen in his presence? And then when he left, I could take, the acid took its toll. It was, again, years later, I'm aware of somebody's presence. I'm aware of the energy that people carry, you know. But I'll always remember that. Yeah, I mean, I don't do any drugs at this time in my life, and the last 40 years have not.
There is something that is greater than even the high of this drug.
Yes, he wasn't just an academician about mysticism. You know, he was having an encounter with the presence, and that carried a frequency and a vibration of love and joy and generosity and compassion that would emanate through his voice, you know. And even though I didn't meet a Walter Russell, I know he carried that frequency as well. Though I didn't get to meet George Washington Carver. Yeah, it would be Carver and Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo really spoke about the potential of humanity being a God-man or God-woman, and the inner visioning. I don't know if he used that language, but I remember in studying him, it impacted me. And I became very aware that it's really about the expansion of consciousness. So the vision process was born out of my awareness of in building Agape. We wanted to actually be the containers for unconditional love. We actually wanted to be the next great expression of human unfoldment, the next great unfolding of the human species, not just create a church, but actually carry the frequency of what we wanted to teach. And so it's an inner awareness of love, inner awareness of peace and of joy and of harmony. And I always have taught from the very beginning that you can't have permanently what you're not willing to become in consciousness. You can manipulate and have things temporarily. But if you're gonna have something in your life, then you have to actually become it in vibration, in frequency. You have to embody those particular frequencies. And then even if you temporarily lose it, it'll always come back because that's who you are. As we're not trying to be ascended masters, we're trying to be descended masters. We're trying to actually bring the energy here, not go there. And when people try to go there, sometimes they don't embody it. And they live in this straining of trying to get somewhere, where when you begin to really wake up, you begin to realize that you're already enlightened. What you're doing is you're just removing the mental, emotional obstacles to seeing who you are. There was a great friend of mine who was a part of the Paramahansa Yogananda crew. We used to meditate at his house all the time. And during one of his meditations, there was an appearance to me as if Yogananda had appeared. And I can remember him saying to me that I was not to have a guru, that I was to go direct. I could be influenced, I can study, I can learn from all the teachers, but I was not necessarily to go the guru path. And that became my path. I studied, I was influenced by great beings on the planet, the ones that I've mentioned, but most of my growth was through direct encounter with the presence. So Paramahansa was an authentic, awakened being that I was influenced by as well. Yeah. Saturday night.
Oh, I missed the last little bit where he promotes Saturday Night Live in the Awakening World. And I want to thank Alan and Son. They might actually be listening to us right now. I see them. So if Alan and Son are here, turn on your camera and I'll introduce you to people. Yogananda was and is really, for me, a master teacher, very important influence. Wow, and Pato and Antoinette are still with us. Isn't that something? Wow, okay, well, I'm going to put the spotlight on you guys for a minute. Anything you want to share that stood out for you in watching beloved Reverend Michael Beckwith? Yeah.
I'm sorry. Repeat that one more time.
Oh, just I was delighted to see you with us. Wondering if there was anything that stood out for you and what you just saw the whole lineage of Reverend Michael and yeah.
Yeah.
And while you pull together your thoughts, there is Mrs. Future. And there in the shadows is Dr. Future. This is Alan and Son.
Around the other way.
And they edit all of our videos, and they added all the B-roll and everything. Anyway.
We have loved the show tonight, everybody, and have just been so moved by all the things that people are bringing to it. And we've been working very hard on trying to get more wonderful creative videos together. And unfortunately, I'm very slow at that, but we're moving forward.
Oh, well, thank you, Son. Thank you, Mrs. Future.
Al is here. And sorry, we're sitting in the dark. We just finished dinner.
That's all right. I'm glad we got a chance to say hello. I'm getting seasick looking at you guys, so I'm going to remove the spotlight. But love you guys very, very much.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, Dr. Beckwith, he is definitely amazing. It was so funny. We ran into him. We met him in the streets in the Merritt Park in LA for like African American Cultural Festival. That was the first time we met him. And then all the other times that we met him was usually around the Unity Earth circles and the other circles around later and stuff. But that time that we saw him in the streets, we were talking about the Urantia book to him.
Your karma is around getting
Hold on. Alan's Son, we're hearing you.
to shine.
Let me mute them. There we go. Sorry about that, Antoinette.
It's okay. Anyway, he told us that he used to teach the Urantia book in his basement. You know, he used to teach the Urantia book for many years, you know. And then I noticed, I was like, everything that was going on with the Agape and everything, I said it makes so much sense because it's really like the Urantia teachings without it being called Urantia. You know, because it's so open and it's so universal. You know, the music is so powerful, very powerful. The teachings, the fellowship, the ideology, you know, with the environment and everything else. I mean, it's just very forward, progressive types of spirituality, which I just see as like, it's the way because it's so inclusive. You know, it's like, who's not included? It's like, you know, you go to Agape, everybody says they go to Agape and they have the best experience and they feel so welcome, you know, so how could you just not feel, you know, part of it?
Yeah, I love Agape and feel very grateful to have known Michael and to have watched the incredible progression, just as I get to watch the progression of Pato and Antoinette. I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to encourage everyone to join Pato and Antoinette's spiritual practice groups. I'm assuming I just joined tonight. Let's also get the word out to support Antoinette's healing journey and keep her in her prayers. And I hope to see all of you tomorrow morning for our Sacred Sunday show. Thank you to the 58 people still with us. Thank you, Wild Abbot Mystic Monastery, Jerry, for being with us still. Love you, Jerry. And remember, we can keep anything sacred. Yeah, let's remember what Brenda did. Victory! Absolute victory. Victory as all of us coming into oneness together. Good night, everybody, and much love.